It's going to be weird. Okay,
Yeah.
just get over it. Just get over it. Just go with it. Just go with it. But think about what it's going to look like. They're actually going to hang a huge scoreboard from a pair of, because there's no end zone.
Because
They're doing construction in both end zones. So they have
a-
to have a huge scoreboard put in that will be hanging from a couple of, I don't know if you call them cranes or whatever.
chains.
Yeah.
I was on a run by Vanderbilt the other day, and I was looking at just like a big, giant open field. I don't know if it was like a rec field or soccer field or whatever it was on Vanderbilt's campus. I was like, what is that massive Satco sign doing just laying in there? I was like, oh my God, that's the scoreboard. That's not a Satco sign. That's a Satco ad on the Vanderbilt scoreboard. And I did think about climbing over, maybe getting a couple pictures with the Vanderbilt scoreboard, but it does look different.
Yeah.
It does look different, but there will be football nonetheless.
Hawaii
whether it's
on
cosmetically
Saturday night.
appealing or not.
They are very excited. One of the things that we talked with Mitch Light about their team is they are going to be better. They are very excited about their incoming freshman class, the youthful part of their roster. They're going to be better. You could be better and still have the same record, but it would be great if they could break through and get back to the postseason. That would be a great, I think, reasonable goal to see if you can squeak out 6 wins. Although you won't see a ton of people predicting them to win a lot of league games, but they've got a good group of local kids who they got to quote stay home that they really think over time are going to be excellent players for them. So there's a good energy. Clark Lee is, you can just see what he's building over there. We'll see what it looks like on Saturday, but it was fun to get over there and practice. I sweat a little bit getting over there, and I might have a little farmer's tan, but
that's all
it was
right.
worth it. I was right in there. I was on the field.
Now,
I wasn't running plays or anything.
Well, I hope you wasn't.
No, they didn't let me go into the huddle
Willy's
or anything
the new
like that.
OC.
Backup quarterback, Willy
How
Dominic.
are they handling, before we get into all things Titans, how are they handling the Hawaii game? Did Coach mention anything about that?
In terms of
Considering what they're going through on the islands and everything else, have the team made it over yet?
Hawaii is here. They are in town now. In fact, I just heard Joe Dubin on with Chase. Joe is filling in for Chase tomorrow. He actually said he reached out to the Hawaii coach, and the Hawaii coach, as you might understand, has done dozens of interviews just talking about what's happening in Maui, which is not where University of Hawaii is in Honolulu, which is not on the
Different
island.
island.
But
different island.
still, they're obviously, you can imagine what it's feeling like
Family
on a day-to-day
members.
basis there.
Yeah,
It's
crushed.
been unbelievable. So they're here. They've been practicing, acclimating to the time change and everything like that. I didn't talk to anybody today about anything special they're doing, but I would bet there will be QR codes and things like that during the game if people want to help out. I see that on a lot of broadcasts right now. I see that on a lot of NFL preseason games that have nothing to do with Hawaii, but people are just trying to reach out and find ways to make a contribution. I watched on MLB Network the other day, Joe Torre, who he and his wife vacationed in Hawaii for years and years, going back to like the 1960s, 70s. And he said so there is a huge campaign from the sports world to try to help what's going on over there. Really, really tough situation.
I did see a portion of the proceeds from ticket sales on Saturday are going to.
That's good.
I don't know. I don't have the exact charitable donation that it is going to, but it is going to a cause that is donating money to the families that were affected by the fires in Maui. So. Good move by Vanderbilt there. I know it's going to be an emotional game for really everyone involved, but it's an exciting opportunity for Vanderbilt and for Clark Lee to start off this season after so much buzz and so much excitement and a lot of overachieving for that Vanderbilt team this past year, winning 2 SEC games. I don't think anyone, Vanderbilt fans included, Willie, expected that to happen. So, the bar is raised even higher.
Yeah, that was a good thing for them last year. I think it's gotten them some momentum. I think they feel good about there are a lot of freshmen, for example, that are pushing to get in there. That's a sign that your recruiting classes have gotten better. Like I've said many times before, he was not left with much at all to go with. So he has had to build it from scratch. And that being said, I do think they're going to be better. Their offense, I think, in particular, has got a chance to be really solid. I still think they're a little ways away on defense, but hopefully better than they were last year. They have the entire offensive line back.
That's good.
A lot of skill players back. You're really going to like you probably noticed him last year at D-Mase, but Will Shepard, the wide receiver, he is good. And from what I'm told, he's had a very good offseason. Looks good out there. So we'll see how it all translates when you get on the field. But one of the things to keep in mind is how non-competitive they were against the elite teams in the league. And, that's not what it's about right now. But you would like to see them close that gap on Saturdays of just not being overmatched by the elite talent. So that's one thing to look for. But that's not necessarily got anything to do with wins and losses. Like if you told me they get blown out 6 times but they'd win 6, you might take that.
It, yeah.
But part of the process is just
exactly.
What are you looking like talent-wise? Are you starting to get a little closer with more guys on the field that could play for lots of other teams in the league? And I think they're doing that. They're doing much better in that area.
I talked to Chris Lee yesterday, VandySports.com, and I asked him, what has been Clark Lee's method or plan to make sure that Vanderbilt doesn't just become a talent generator for the rest of the league. Look at Ray Davis, their leading rusher this past season, transfers to Kentucky. Mike Wright, their starting quarterback from this past season, transfers to Mississippi State. That how can Vanderbilt become one of those places that you go to win, not one of those places that you go and establish yourself just to transfer away to maybe a more competitive or bigger program? And he said that that's something that Clark has really started from the bottom up, of getting the guys in there and really, instilling these beliefs in them that this is a place where you can win. And it starts from depth, and it starts from a place of you can come to Vanderbilt and you can contribute to us right away, which is something that not every school in the SEC can offer a true freshman.
Yeah, you're right about that. But also, I don't think that's just a Vanderbilt problem. Now,
I think it's becoming a college football problem.
It's a college football problem, but I think because of where the Vanderbilt program has been, they can't afford for guys to come, do some good work, and then end up leaving. Now, you can do that at, Alabama or Georgia, LSU, other teams like that. But at Vandy, because all they're going to do is replace you with another 5-star and keep it moving. But at Vandy, if you got a good player, you got to keep them there somehow, some way. So,
and that's where depth comes into play,
and that's
too.
where depth comes in. And just listening to Clark Lee the few times we've had him on, I mean, and especially when we went over and did the show, I think twice. Was it last year, Willie? We did the show twice from Vandy. It might have been last year or the year before. But just listening.
I think it was last year we were in the old training table.
Exactly. Yeah. Just listening to his message, you can tell that he's dedicated to building this program the right way so it can be sustained.
Yeah, and I think the best way that they can do what they're capable of, obviously they have to keep up with the evolution of NIL and all that stuff. They got to do that. Facilities, just go over there. You'll see it's not just, hey, let's throw $1 million over here and paint the flagpoles. I mean, they're doing.
It costs $1 million to paint the flagpole. I'll paint them.
I mean, it's an unbelievable in-depth project that's going to center around football, but it's going to help baseball. It's going to help basketball. There's a huge commitment happening. That's going to help. And then I think he's got to create an environment where the guys just love being there. If you do that, I think you have a few less people. You're always going to have one or two to like, hey, I'm not playing. Maybe I could play more at School B. But especially if they're excelling there, you want a few less players to say, hey, is the grass greener on this? I love it here. I want to be here. That's really what you can control. You can't control somebody that's like, I want to go make more money. Maybe that's always going to be a challenge at certain places, especially in this league where it's becoming more and more like a pro league at the very, very top, for a certain small percentage of the players. There may be real money out there. If it's about a few extra $1,000, I think if you have a great atmosphere, it's worth staying if you love it where you are. And you're going to get a degree from Vanderbilt. I mean, I think there's a lot that you bring to the table. If you're going to be in Nashville, if you're going to be networking in a place where you could make it to the NFL, but also if you don't, whenever you stop playing, you're going to have a network that can help you succeed after football too.
You can't control players leaving your program.
No.
I think that's more apparent now more than ever. And that's not just a Vanderbilt problem. I mean, there's players transferring away from Alabama, players transfer away from Georgia, players transfer away from national title contenders all the time. But what you can control is how can I make sure that, one, that these players are having a valuable experience, and two, that we can become one of those plug-and-play kind of programs of we have one player transfer, we have another player go down with an injury. Well, we've got another player that's prepped and ready to step in if and when their time comes. But coming up next, Malik Willis. It was the Malik Willis show on Saturday. We have not heard yet how Mike Vrabel is going to approach this quarterback situation on Friday night against the New England Patriots. Is Will Levis good to go? If so, how much time does Will Levis get? Ryan Tannehill, are we going to see some of him? That's a different story that we can absolutely get to. But in terms of Malik Willis and his growth and his development, we heard from two quarterback football gurus, their evaluation of what they've seen from Malik Willis so far, and how do we feel about it? We'll get into that coming up next, and of course, your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
All the big plays.
Henry, touchdown, Tennessee!
All the big stories.
I fully expected DeAndre Hopkins wanting a one-year deal.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Touchdown, Tennessee!
You're going to make a trade like this.
Does he want to retire a Tennessee Titan?
The doors on the board.
Such superstar players.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Derek Mason here to tell you about Zen Sports, the new sports betting app in Tennessee, revolutionizing sports betting rewards. Listen, what if I told you that you was wasting your time and money betting on sports books? That's not Zen Sports. Zen Sports offers real cash rewards and those lucky enough to be in Tennessee, and that means no funny money, points, or credit. For a welcome bonus, earn 5% cash back on every bet you place for your first 15 days with the code D-Mase. Unlimited 5% cash back with your on your bets with code D-Mase. That's D-M-A-S-O-N. And earn up to 3% cash back on your bets after that with the Zen Sports loyalty program. So make the switch today and start betting Zen Sports. Your wallet and or your purse will thank you later. I promise you. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet in Tennessee. Zen Sports, where betting just got better.
Willy Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last.
City Winery Nashville presents Paula Poundstone live in concert on Friday, August 25th at 7 p.m. Iconic comedian Paula Poundstone is known for her smart, observational humor and legendary spontaneous wit. Paula is the star of several HBO specials including Cats, Cops and Stuff, and Paula Poundstone Goes to Harvard. Paula is a regular panelist on NPR's comedy news quiz, Wait, Don't Tell Me. She's heard weekly on her successful comedy podcast, Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. Don't miss Paula Poundstone and get your tickets at citywinery.com.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The Titans have their final preseason game against the New England Patriots tomorrow night. And Mike Vrabel was asked about, how does this final preseason game kind of play into your evaluation? He said, first and foremost, I want all of these guys to be going 100% from the moment they walked in here. It's not like all of a sudden in the third preseason game, now all of a sudden they've got something to play for. But he said, hey, we're going to be doing our evaluations through the game on Friday night and into the weekend and into Monday. And we're going to be watching the film and breaking it down. And Rand and I are going to have these conversations officially before roster cutdown day on Tuesday. So Rand and Mike Vrabel and these position coaches, they're going to continue to do their evaluations on some of the fringe roster guys of who's going to be that sixth receiver and who's going to be that final safety and who's going to be contributing to special teams. Of course, we'll be watching for those things as well, but I think the biggest thing that we're going to be watching for on Friday night is the same thing that we've been watching for all preseason long and all training camp long, and that's looking at the quarterbacks. Malik Willis and Will Levis and their backup quarterback competition, assuming that we won't see Ryan Tannehill on Friday night. But we had Tim Hasselbeck on our show earlier this week. He had his evaluation of where he thinks Malik Willis is right now. This was Tim Hasselbeck.
I still think he has a chance to become one. I don't think he's one right now, right? So say there was a situation where, Ryan was injured and, he needed to go into the season as the starter. They'd be in a bad spot. Mm-hmm. And I think you look around the league and you'd say, Jacoby Brissett, is it perfect? No, but he's prepared to go be a starter. I think Malik, I think he needs more time. Now, saying all of that, I think everyone also has to remember, when he was drafted, he was always viewed as a developmental prospect. And that doesn't mean the development happens just in one season. So do I think he could still be a starter? Yeah, I do. Do I think he is right now? No.
And I would probably agree with that. I don't think that Malik Willis is a starter right now. I don't. But Trevor Maddich was on with Jared on Stillman and Company later that afternoon and had a much different evaluation of where he thinks Malik Willis is right now. This was Trevor Maddich.
I'm watching Malik Willis play this game, and I'm thinking that he's making a statement, just like you said. And the statement is not a good one. The statement is, I can't play in this league. I'm not getting better. I'm not making good decisions on easy plays to make good decisions on. And I'm sitting there just scratching my head, wondering what in the world he's thinking. Now, I expect this out of Will Levis because this is Will Levis's first time in the NFL. But Malik Willis had a lot of game time in the regular season last year. He had that experience to build from in the offseason this year, and he continues to miss layups. I mean, as I'm taking notes in that game, Jared, the most common note that I took when it related to Willis was missed opportunity, missed opportunity, missed opportunity. And the next most common note was, if he can't solve that problem with his arm, what can he solve with his arm? And those are two really bad notes to be taking on a consistent basis.
So two very different evaluations. Mm-hmm. Tim Hasselbeck saying, look, he's not a starter right now, but I do think that he can potentially develop into a starting NFL quarterback. And Trevor Maddich saying there that his major takeaway from what he saw from Malik against the Minnesota Vikings was, I don't belong in this league. Where do we stand? Where do you, or whose evaluations would you align more with?
I think really they have the same evaluation. I think there is more optimism and patience with Tim Hasselbeck. I think he's seeing the same things that Trevor's seeing, but I think he's giving him a longer runway Whereas I feel like Trevor Maddich is a little bit more of a, hey, if you're asking me if he's ready to get in there right now and play, no. So I fall in the it's going to have to ratchet up. He is getting better. There's no question in my mind. He is getting better. But it depends on where your bar is. Is your bar adequate backup? I'm not sure he's to that point yet, but I feel like he can get there. Adequate backup. That's a reasonable goal that I think he can still get there. But does that mean week 3 this year? That's the question. And is he better? Does he give you a better chance to win if he's got to start? If somebody has to start a game other than Tannehill, especially in the first half of the season, can he look a lot better than he did last year? To me, that has to be a yes if you're going to put him in there, because last year was not acceptable. The backup quarterback play that they got last year was way, way substandard, and it ruined their season to some degree.
Yeah, it did, because he wasn't ready to play. I think what's happening or what's in play here is you can't forget what you saw. So if you can't forget what you saw last year, your evaluation of this year is going to be a little bit skewed in a sense. Because had he not played last year at all, people would be raving over him. The kid is making progress. Look at him. Yes, he still has a way to go, but he can play in this league. He may not necessarily be a starter in this league. Everybody can't start, but that doesn't mean you don't have a place in this league on somebody's team. I think because, what is the old adage? Your first impression is everything. Well, his first impression wasn't good, and it wasn't his fault because he shouldn't have been in there in the first place. But because people are looking at that, and then they look at, okay, they draft Will Levis, and Will Levis seemed to have all the tools and come from a system that is more NFL ready than not, then everyone is expecting Will Levis to be the guy. So if Willis is not lighting it up, it's like, okay, he's not ready or he can't play in this league. Again, the only evaluation that I care about, and I think Willie is right, I think they both are sort of kind of saying the same thing. But
I think the difference is Tim's is looking at it like there is right now, no, but I see the potential. I think Trevor's looking at it and saying right now, no, and possibly no ever.
As a starter or as a backup? That's what I am trying to figure out.
He's just saying he doesn't belong
Trevor
in
said
this
he
league.
doesn't, which blows my mind because, again, I think Tim is looking at it from the kid has improved. Like, he shouldn't have been on the field last year at all, but it is what it is. He didn't look good. He wasn't ready. But what I've seen this year looks nothing like what I saw last year. Trevor Maddich, I believe, is just looking at it like, listen, I saw what I saw last year, and
it doesn't look that different this year.
Yeah, to me, there's nothing this kid can do that's going to convince me that he's a player in this league. Only evaluation that I care about, honestly, is the Titans' evaluation. And it seems like the Titans they like what they see. Now, do they think he's a starting quarterback at this point? Probably not. But they like the way that he has come back into camp. He's come back ready, determined. He's made some strides. Yes, he does have a ways to go, but he's making those strides the way the Titans believe he should make them. So Trevor could be looking at it and is holding that first impression thing to the T. Like, listen, I saw him last year. Didn't look good. He don't look good to me now. Instead of saying the kid shouldn't have been in there last year. I saw what he looked like. It wasn't good. I see him this year. He looks damn better than what he did last year, but he's still not ready to be a starter. Again, I am not that versed in quarterbacking, okay? I play with a lot of quarterbacks, but I'm not that versed in quarterbacking. But what I can tell you is I know an improvement when I see one. I know a guy that can play in this league. He may not be a starter, but he can play in this league. And Willis, I've seen some bad quarterbacks in this league that are still playing in this league. So you can't tell me that this one isn't a quarterback that can play. He's not a starter right now, and he may not ever be a starter in this league. I don't know. That's not for me to determine. I can't see it into the future. But I tell you one thing, I haven't seen improvement. This kid can play in this league, but he's not a starter at this point.
But does improvement from last year necessarily mean that he can play in this league?
It depends on what.
It depends on what
role we're talking about. If we're saying who is the guy that can back up in week 3, that's a big question. But you heard Tim Hasselbeck say it. He was drafted as a project.
Yeah.
If you're a minor league baseball player drafted as a project, you have 5-6 years to build and learn some of the things. In football, you can't do that. But I think for Malik Willis, they didn't let Steve McNair on the field until the very, very end of his second year. He played 2 games when the team was out of the race. He sat the entire time because why? He had to learn the NFL offense. And then he got better every year. That's what we should be thinking about with Malik Willis is he should be on a 3, 4, 5-year track, honestly. It to me, like, could he be a backup where he gets a little bit better each year, and at the end of the 4th year, you see how much better he's gotten? I do think he's got a willingness to learn. He's got a work ethic. He's got some tools, and in the meantime, he can run the heck out of it, right? There's things you can do with that if you're patient enough and you don't throw him into the fire and hold him to a higher standard when you drafted him as a project. You didn't draft him as an NFL-ready quarterback who should be playing games his first or second year.
But
that's what's messed up about this whole thing.
Here's the question that everyone should ask themselves based upon what you saw last year, what you're seeing now. If Ryan Tannehill went down right now and say Will Levis couldn't play because obviously if Tannehill goes down, everybody wants Will Levis to play because he was the second pick. He was your second-round pick, and I get it. I understand that part. He's supposed to be the future of this team. But if Willis had to go in this year, personally, I feel better than I did last year about him potentially winning a game or 2. I feel much better, not only because of what he's done in the strides that he's made. I think this coaching staff, from the quarterback's coach to the offensive coordinator, are better equipped to work with him and know what his strengths and weaknesses are. And if they stay healthy, the roster from a pass-catching standpoint is better. Imagine him with the D-Hop and the Traylon Burks and the Chickaconquo and the Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry. It makes his job a little bit easier because now, especially with D-Hop, he has a little room for error when he throws the football. With Traylon, bigger body, he has a little bit room for error when he throws the football. And he's a little bit more comfortable in what he's doing. If he had to go into a game this year, I feel so much more confident that he can go out there and play much better than he did last year and potentially win a game for you.
See, that's what I think the different conversation is I am with you. I would feel more confident in Malik Willis this year than I would last year. Like, if Malik Willis played against the Chiefs last year like he's playing now, you win that game. But do you feel confident enough that Malik Willis can go in there and win you a game? He's not going to throw you back from, down 35-10. I don't know how many backup quarterbacks in the league
not many
can do that.
Yeah.
But if Ryan Tannehill goes down, let's say, knock on wood, with an injury, maybe it's a 3-point game, one way or another. Titans up 3, Titans down 3. Can Malik Willis win you that game?
I'm still worried about that. Big time.
And that's what I'm worried
Today.
about too.
But see, I want to see him in another year, in another 2 years. That's what, if you're being fair, if you really are trying to develop quarterbacks, you should give him that kind of time. But that's the problem, is who's the backup today?
Because you don't have a lot of time in the NFL. And that's the unfortunate reality of the league.
He could be better, but still not capable of leading a team to much, other than, maybe getting a great performance around him. Right?
And I think
go
that's
win you a
point.
game. He's not ready to go win a game in the league.
I think it's a fair point to look at the timeline, to say we're going to give you time to progress and we're going to give you time to get better. But at some point, we have to have a deadline to where we can't wait any longer for you to ascend. So we've compared Malik Willis to what he was last year. We've compared to Malik Willis to Will Levis and where he is right now. And I think all of those are fair comparisons. But when we're talking about progress and Malik Willis coming in as a kind of a project quarterback. How does he compare to maybe some of the other project quarterbacks that were drafted in his class? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts as well, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I've been on the program now all summer, and I am approaching the 30-pound mark for weight loss. That's right. We're getting so close. It's been wonderful, and I'm excited each and every morning to get started with my personalized PhD nutrition program that my coach put together for me. I appreciate the fact that PhD Weight Loss hasn't overwhelmed my life, but it's enhanced it. From feeling better about myself in pictures to having increased energy, PhD is great for me, and the program is simple. In fact, we've recently tweaked it so that we can bust through that plateau. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. They've got the coaching, the program, and their guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chillin' all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Let's see. That one. Wait, I didn't see this one.
We apologize. When you have as many microbrews on tap as we do, we know it can be hard to make a decision. Don't worry, we're patient.
Wow, let me see here.
Bar lines at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Incredible apps and salads, delectable burgers and wraps featuring local Tennessee whiskey and local brews on tap and live music 7 days a week. The decision is obvious. Bar lines at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
To your left, our new exhibit, Monarchs of Springfield. And right here, we have our empty tour guide stand.
The last time Bryn hired someone is ancient history.
Sir, excuse me, that's not part of the exhibit.
They need tour guides who know the museum ropes.
Hey, kid, you like wearing khakis? I got a job for you.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series at Gwinnett.
Gloves, grabs, guns, gets him, and the Sounds win again.
Pre-game at 5:50.
Nashville Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Trevor, he played an entire game and he didn't throw for 100 yards.
Yeah, and you've got to make the layups in order to get to that point. And people will say, yeah, but he had some drop passes. And that's fair. He did. But he also missed some passes, and he got his receivers smashed a couple of times unnecessarily.
That was Trevor Maddich, ESPN, NFL, and college football analyst for on Stillman & Company earlier this week. He said, my takeaway, saying my as in Trevor's words, Trevor's takeaway from the preseason game against Minnesota is that Malik doesn't belong in this league, which contrasts what Tim Hasselbeck told us earlier this week, and that is, yeah, you could see Malik developing potentially into a starting NFL quarterback. He's just not there right now. I think we can all agree that no, he is not there right now. But Willie, you brought up a very fair point in the last segment about, giving him time. And I would agree that I think overall in the NFL, there's not a whole lot of room for development because there's frankly just not a whole lot of time. And there's not a whole lot of space to afford players, especially at the quarterback position, time to develop. So what's a fair amount of time to give Malik Willis to develop? Because he has looked better from this past season, but he does still show us that he has a lot to improve upon. So we've compared him to himself of 2022. We've compared him to Will Levis, which I think are all very fair comparisons and comparisons that are necessary to make. But what we, as a show of us four, have not done is compared him to the rest of the quarterbacks in his draft class. Because that 2022 NFL draft, it was rough for quarterbacks. I mean, there was only one quarterback taken in the first round. That was Kenny Pickett late in the first round. And then we saw the quarterbacks kind of trickle off on the board, third, fourth, fifth round of the NFL draft. But I look at four quarterbacks, Malik Willis included. Malik Willis, who's taken in the third round. Sam Howell, taken in the fifth round. Kenny Pickett, who was a first-round quarterback. And Desmond Ridder. All four quarterbacks in that 2022 NFL draft. Three of those four are now NFL starters. And the one that's not and doesn't look poised to be an NFL starter, at least anytime soon, is Malik Willis. And that is one thing that concerns me about the timing of his development. Those quarterbacks, Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell, they were also drafted as developmental project quarterbacks. I mean, Desmond Ridder was only taken a few picks before Malik Willis in the third round, and Sam Howell was taken in the fifth.
But Sam Howell would not be starting on most teams. He's starting because of very specific circumstances on a bad franchise.
But has looked better in the preseason than we've seen from Malik Willis.
Okay. But let's hold out, and I want to see it in the real deal before I say, oh yeah, this is a starter. We have no idea if he's a starter or not. No idea at this point.
He's a starter, but we don't know if he's a starting caliber quarterback.
But is he a starter?
But he threw for over double the amount of yards that Malik Willis threw for in the last preseason game, and he only played in a half.
Again, we go back to these numbers, and tack on 30 yards at least for the two drop passes. And then if you're looking, I'm just getting an opportunity to look at the all-22 from that game. In the offensive line, there was pressure on Malik Willis. If you look at it, as good as the offensive line looked from the television copy, you look at the all-22, it's a much different story. He's getting pressure on some of those throws that he's trying to make, or some of those guys that he's missing because he's getting pressure. To me, take the numbers aside. Just put the numbers aside. Those quarterbacks that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure they all came from a different type of offense that Malik Willis came from. They were more, even though they were considered projects, they were further ahead than Malik Willis was, and to no fault of anybody's. It's just the offense they ran at Liberty, the offense they ran at these other schools, whether it be North Carolina for Sam Howell or Ridder went to Pittsburgh, one of those schools.
Desmond Ridder went to Cincinnati.
And
Kenny Pickett went to Pitt.
Pitt, yeah. So they were a little bit more advanced than Malik Willis and Liberty for whatever reason. I don't know. For whatever
level
reason.
Of competition.
Exactly. So when they come in the NFL, their project is different from Malik Willis being a project. You line all four of them up and you say, well, they're all projects. Where they're all starting from different points in that project. Ridder, Howe, and Pickett are further along already because of the type of offenses they ran than Malik Willis, but they're all considered projects because none of them were considered really first-round picks. So if you're not a first-round pick in this league, you're considered a project. Will Levis is still considered a project because he was drafted outside of that first round.
So was Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder and Brock Purdy,
exactly.
who's now the starter in San Francisco.
Absolutely, but these guys were further along in sort of this project type of deal. They're further along because of the offense that they ran in college. Again, no fault of theirs, and it's no fault of Malik's. It's just where they decided to go to college. So when we look at it and we say, well, they all were projects, but there were projects at different levels.
But at what point does that need to start? The gap needs to start closing, because Malik Willis,
Not after year 2.
As much progress as he has
1.
made, there is still a whole lot of progress to be made, and compared to the rest of the draft class, he's clearly behind. And I know that they came from different offenses, but he's now been in an NFL offense for an entire season now.
It's a different offense. He wasn't. I guess what nobody realizes that they changed the quarterbacks coach for a reason. None of those guys, even Woodside, and I said this last year, none of these guys that were behind Ryan Tannehill or behind why am I forgetting the quarterback before Ryan?
Mariota.
Yeah, Marcus. They were not getting developed. They were not. You can't tell me that they were, because if they were, we wouldn't be sitting in a situation where we're trying to look for a backup quarterback. None of those guys were developing. I said that year after year, and nothing changed. Now they switch quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinators. Hopefully, I believe that Charles London will be able to develop not just Willis, but Levis as well, and anybody that comes after that. Because before him, they were not getting developed. It just showed. You drafted a guy that was a project, a definite project out of Liberty. You drafted him, and you cut the guy that was here, that knew the offense. Cut him,
which was a mistake.
Which was a mistake.
In
which tells me
sure.
You didn't think that he was good enough to beat out a guy that's a project. Well, you didn't develop him right. Whatever you were doing at first, development wasn't working, and it wasn't working with Willis. So they bring in another quarterbacks coach. I do believe that now these guys will get developed.
But also, let's keep this in mind. They pulled out Josh Dobbs out of thin air just to get somebody in there in a pinch last year.
But Josh had already been in the NFL, 4 or 5 years?
Right, but I'm just saying, okay, I'm this is all going to my vision of where I see Malik Willis long term. They made that decision to scrap his progress. They deemed he wasn't ready. Josh Dobbs is better today and next week, right? When they let him play the last 2 games.
We saw that on
So there's that.
display.
Then they drafted Levis. Okay, so that's another indication of where they see Willis. If they saw Willis as, hey, this guy in another year is going to be the starter, they would not have felt the need to draft Levis or trade up to get Levis.
Especially
I don't
trading
think.
up in the second round.
Right. So, again, what is the Titans' vision of Malik Willis? Right now he's playing a lot because Levis is hurt, and he's also had a good offseason. They're rewarding him for that. But I think it's a victory if he ends up being the backup quarterback for 3-4 years and gets a little better each year. And then maybe he's a late bloomer as he continues to pick up things. To me, that's the track I see him on. I'm not looking for him to light the world on fire anytime soon.
Malik
But
or
Malik?
Okay.
Malik. I think they drafted Levis with the idea that Levis, let's see how he looks in another year. And the benefit that Levis has is that he's a second-round pick. He's not Trey Lance, where you traded a lot of assets to move up in the first round and take him, and there's a lot of riding. I mean, San Francisco's done an amazing job winning despite the fact that they gave up whatever they gave up to get Trey Lance, and he has really struggled, and now he's become their third-string quarterback, and he's in his third year.
Yeah,
I mean that is a real
epic disaster in San Francisco.
It is, but they're so good, they're still going to win, and they bailed themselves out because they drafted a guy in the 8th round that is maybe going to save their bacon to some degree, which most teams can't find a guy that's that good in the 8th round or 7th round, wherever they got him.
I think that you mentioned it, where he doesn't have to set the world on fire, and I don't need that from Malik Willis. I don't need him to set the world on fire. If he does, great. This team's in a great position if he can set the world on fire. I think for me, it's just, can you take care of the football? Can you run this offense? If Ryan Tannehill, again, knock on wood, goes down with an injury in the middle of a game, can you go in there and execute the offense like Ryan Tannehill can do, and can you take care of the football? I don't know if I'm there with Malik Willis because we haven't seen him be able to do that so far in the preseason. But let's continue the conversation coming up next because we do have some thoughts on our text line. So we'll get into those coming up next, 615-737-1025. If you have a thought. Trevor Maddich said he doesn't think that what he's seen so far that Malik Willis belongs in this league. Your reaction, Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game? I'm odd, so I get the odd picks. They have a new coaching staff. It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Your home reflects you, your style, your choices. That's why purchasing a home is not just financially significant, it's personal too. At F&M Mortgage, we understand clients need a loan that's just as personal, one that fits you with service from a local lender who lives right here. Yes, we offer competitive rates and low closing costs, but we also know home financing should be more than just numbers. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
There are ordinary hotels, and there's the Four Seasons. There are ordinary cars, and there's the Rolls-Royce. There are ordinary handbags, and there's Gucci. There are ordinary engagement rings, and there's Genesis. A Genesis diamond ring is unlike any other. Artistic, innovative design, handcrafted precision, exceptional detail and quality. This is why people who work at other jewelers come to Genesis for their rings. A Genesis ring is considered the gold standard in bridal, with no compromises, no cut corners, nothing short of perfection. We have the look, the style every woman dreams about. At Genesis, you'll find dozens of exclusive world-class bridal designers who are revered for their attention to detail, exceptional vision, and superior craftsmanship. A Genesis ring rises to the occasion, reflecting her style, her unique personality, her confidence, her individuality. In a world filled with ordinary, for this moment, choose extraordinary. Choose Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Blue Raider fans, your home for all the MTSU football and men's basketball action is on 93.3 Classic Hits and 95.1 Classic Hits in the borough. Catch the action all season long with Chip Walters on the call. Go Blue Raiders!
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Pro Golf is coming to Nashville this September 14th through 17th with the Simmons Bank Open at the Grove Club. Text the keyword PAR, P-A-R, now to 615-737-1025 and enter to win a weekend pass for 4 to enjoy the event in style, including food and drink. Breaking down Trevor Maddich's analysis of Malik Willis against the Vikings on Saturday and throughout, Malik Willis's preseason so far. Trevor Maddich said he doesn't see that Malik belongs in this league. But let's get your thoughts on it. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Justin in Greenbrier texts in, says Malik has made progress and the presence he has on the field is much better than last season. I would agree. Goes on to say, but I think because of the way we saw him perform last year, people still have that bad taste in their mouth. I hope we do see him more this week and he learns from last week because his running has gotten much better, but it's his passing that needs the work. I'll speak for myself because I can't say what everyone else is doing. I can't say what Trevor was looking at or keeping in mind or Tim Hasselbeck was keeping in mind or what you guys were keeping in mind. I'll speak for myself. I'm not thinking about last year from Malik Willis because last year was last year and we all saw how bad, frankly, Malik Willis was this past season. And we all understand and know that Malik Willis had zero business being on the field. And I put that on John Robinson. I think that was football malpractice that Malik Willis ever even came close to the football field this past season. But I'm looking at what I've seen this year. And yes, Malik Willis does look improved. But Malik Willis still has a lot of improvement left to make. He still struggles throwing the football. He still makes some questionable decisions. He's thrown 2 interceptions in the preseason, and they were both pretty bad ones. He fumbles the football a lot. So I'm looking at what he has done this year. I'm not letting last year cloud my judgment. And frankly, I don't think that we should let last year cloud our judgment as a whole, as Titans fans as a whole. I don't think that that's necessarily fair. Just look at what he's done this year.
I think the biggest thing for him, one, is he has to protect the football. And I'm not saying from a pass standpoint. I'm saying when he's in the pocket. He needs to figure out a way to hold on to the football. Now, the one in Minnesota, that wasn't his fault. I mean, he play action pass, and the minute he was getting ready to throw it, I mean, the left tackle gets beat, or the left guard gets beat, one of the two, and the guy hits his hand. Luckily, he gets the ball back. But on some other ones, he's too loose with the ball. I think what he's trying to do is trying to keep himself alive to make a play, trying to keep his arm alive to make a play. And that's what young players do. As you start to get more and more experience, hey, listen, I just got to play another down. Take the loss, play another down, and let's go. I think he's always constantly trying to make a play. And I'm sure Will Levis would probably be sort of the same, in regards to filling the pocket, filling the rush, but still trying to keep your arm live to make a play. Veteran quarterbacks know, listen, it comes a point where I got to tuck the ball and just go down and just play another down. I think that's what he needs to learn, how to protect the football from that standpoint. Now, the interceptions, he's a person in a situation where he can't afford those things to happen for him. He's in an uphill battle, and he has to damn near be perfect when throwing the football. I'm talking about as far as protecting the football. Some of those tight throws that you got to be able to make in the NFL, he may have to pull it down and may take the check down because you don't want to put yourself in a position where that's what they think of you, that you're careless with the football, throwing it down the field. The 2 drops he had, I don't blame that on him. Those were good balls. The interception he had with Wiley, again, I go back to you should have caught that football and hit both of your hands. Yes, the ball could have been lower. It should have been lower. But every pass that a quarterback makes is not going to be a perfect pass. This is what we're taught as starters. When the backup comes in, it is your job to elevate your game because he's a backup for a reason. He's not the starter, okay? He's a backup. When he comes in the game, you expect him to go out there and do his job, but you got to elevate your game as a starter no matter what. That's the way we're coached. That's the way it goes down. You can't tell me any different because these are things that I've heard, I've witnessed.
And Josh Wiley's also a backup as well.
And Josh Wiley's a backup as well. But those are catches and passes. Like I said, that ball should have been a little bit lower.
But that's my thing. That ball should have been lower.
But those are catchable balls. That's what they are.
I didn't think that ball was catchable.
I'm telling you, 100%, that ball was catchable. Nobody on the planet can tell me or outside this planet can tell me that that ball wasn't catchable. He put both his hands on it.
Okay,
it was way too high.
But aren't we doing a little too much of this though?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say all three of those passes had been right on the money, complete, and you get the yards and the stats look better. I still think that those aren't the defining things, 3 or 4 plays. It's more of the big picture. What's happening every day at practice? What's happening? What are the coaches seeing on the reads and everything? That's way more important than how many yards did he throw for.
But those are things that we
don't.
But those are things that we're not seeing. Nor is
that's
Tim
the
seeing,
point I'm making.
Nor is Trevor seeing. So what we're seeing is in the game now. As I said at the beginning, I don't care about anybody else's evaluation but the Titans. And if the Titans feel that he's doing good enough to stay on this roster, then so be it. I don't want to see any of these quarterbacks other than Ryan Tannehill throughout the season. I don't feel like
I'm with you.
100% good about both of them. But I do believe that he's making improvements, but not making improvements enough to be a starter. I think Will Levis will ultimately make improvements, and I think Will Levis will ultimately, it seems, will be the starter once Ryan Tannehill is out there. I just think Will Levis has more his tools are more ready for the NFL right now than Malik Willis's tools are.
So that leads us back to the pressing question, and that is, who would go in there if they needed the backup? And that's still a huge question mark right now. Willis should be ahead because he's played more and Levis has been hurt. He's in his second year as opposed to his first year, so Willis should have a big inside track. But I think there's still a major question mark. If they lost Tannehill for a couple weeks, could they get by? I'm not sure that they could. And Levis, is he going to play on Friday? We don't know, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a hamstring, you could tweak that and make it a 4-week thing, just like that, if you're not ready to go. So they got to weigh that versus his need to play. But they could go into the regular season with Levis having played just the 5 or 6 series he did against the Bears in the preseason. He's way behind, I would say.
That's kind of the concern to me, is that I think Malik Willis had such a wonderful opportunity come across his desk. Is it unfortunate for Will Levis that he didn't get those reps, he didn't get that opportunity in Minnesota? Yes, it is. But unfortunately, you were hurt, and this is the NFL. But Malik Willis had a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of and to really grasp that backup quarterback role and to really cement himself as the better backup. But he didn't. At least not to me. I didn't step away from that game on Saturday night thinking, ooh, really stinks for Will Levis after seeing what we saw from Malik on Saturday night. I didn't come away from that game feeling like that, and that concerns me for Malik Willis. Because I think at this point, he needs to be making us feel a little bit more comfortable about him having to go into a game. I don't need you to throw me out of a 14-point deficit, but I do need you to take care of the football. I can't depend on Malik Willis to do that quite yet. But let's continue the conversation coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
It's time to let your voice be heard. Nashville is headed to a runoff in the mayoral race on Thursday, September 14th. Stand up and be counted. Cromwell Media reminds you to get out and vote for the future of our city.
Folks, I went into the PhD weight loss program with a goal losing 38 pounds, lost 39. And, I might take it to 40, but the thing I know is that I'm going to keep the weight off. Hey, it's Joe Rexler here. I want to tell you about PhD. It's a great plan for losing weight, great plan for maintenance. The food items are delicious. They give you up to 85% of your food. There's no pills. There's no gimmicks. And it feels sustainable, right? That's a huge thing for people who want to lose weight. Can you keep it off? Can you keep going with it? Everyone has a plateau. Every program has one. You kind of get to a certain point, you lose interest, you move on to something else. This program busts the plateau. It's constant care. It's a program that's tweaked for you. You're coached weekly, and my coach Rachel was fantastic, motivating me, telling me what's going on with my body, and changing the program as I needed it to change to make it perfect for me. It's simple and easy. And there's a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight at the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. Join me now. You won't regret it. Visit myphdweightloss.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Frazier with your Game Center update. Yesterday, the Tennessee Titans finished up another practice in preparation for Friday night's game versus the New England Patriots. Ryan Tannehill spoke with the media after practice and was asked about playing in Friday night's game.
Good if you don't get on the field during the game Friday night, considering the opener is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I'm good either way. Excited and happy with how things have progressed for us as an offense over the course of spring and training camp. Guys are coming out and grinding away. Obviously, it's not 100% yet, but we're building each and every day and learning from something each and every day. And whatever Coach Vrabel decides for Friday, I'll be good with.
Tune in later this evening to 94.9 The Fan as the Nashville Sounds look to continue their winning ways after a 3-1 win last night. The Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's going to coach
Shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. We're breaking down the backup quarterback battle, specifically Malik Willis, because Trevor Maddich was on Stillman & Company earlier this week, and he said he didn't think that Malik Willis belongs in this league. Now, Will, you brought up a fair point in the last segment. We were talking about, Malik Willis versus Will Levis, and we still are kind of in a point where we're thinking we don't know which quarterback truly gives the Titans the best opportunity to win a football game. That the backup quarterback position is still up in the air. So let's go around the room. Who's the backup quarterback?
I don't think they have a choice right now. It's got to be Willis.
Why?
Right now, because Will Levis is hurt.
Assuming Will Levis can come back healthy. And I don't know if that's a fair assumption or not, but
I don't know what's going on in practice, but I think if you had to throw him in there, I think you would have to throw Willis in there right now.
Why do you think so?
Just because he's played more, he's been in there, and especially Willis missing the time he's missing right now, I think that plays into Willis's advantage. I wouldn't feel good about it at this point, and hopefully it doesn't happen. That's what if I'm Mike Vrabel, I'm holding my breath that I don't have to play either one of them right now, because the bigger question is really where are they next year? Next year is really important, but if they are not rebuilding, they said it. They don't like rebuilding. Mike Vrabel said, I don't think you can rebuild in this league. They're trying to win. So when you're trying to win, you got to have a backup that gives you a chance.
I think it's Willis.
Why do you think so, D-Mase?
Because I think that since this offseason has started, now, granted, I know he's a year ahead of Will Levis, but he's been the guy that has gotten better. Whether it be in practice or game, he looks like he's getting it. He knows exactly what they want from him. Do you possibly have to scale down the offense somewhat? There's a possibility, yes, because he's still learning this offense. But I think he has a good command of the huddle, at least from what I've seen the last two games. He has a good command of the huddle. He's going through he's working through his progressions on the field. You can see it. He's working through his progressions. Now, it always doesn't look great when the ball comes out sometimes, but you can see him thinking through his progressions, and he knows exactly, okay, this is where I got to go. It's here. Nope, it's not there. And now I got to go someplace else. And when it's not there, now he's trying to make a play with his feet. I just hadn't seen enough of Will Levis to even, put him in a situation where he would have to be a backup quarterback if something happened to Ryan Tannehill. It's not fair to Will Levis because we might end up seeing the same thing in Will Levis that we saw in Malik Willis last season, and we'll come out with the same thing. This kid, he's not ready to play. Why did they draft him in the second round? Yada, yada, all this stuff. So to me, he just hadn't, because of his injury and possibly because of what the Titans are seeing in both of the quarterbacks, he has not gotten enough experience thus far. So if I had to pick someone to be the second quarterback, it would be Malik Willis. But, I think Vrabel, because I asked him this question yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I said, would it even be smart to name a backup quarterback? Just say Ryan Tannehill's our starter, and those two guys, Willis and Levis, they're going to continue to get, work on getting better. And when that time comes, we got to name a backup, the week will determine who's my backup quarterback, or the week will determine if Ryan Tannehill goes down, who's the starter that week. I'm not naming anyone right now because now you're going through a season. Both of these guys got to prepare as if they're one play away. It's different from being, like Tim said, it's different from being one play away than 2 or 3 plays, because 2 or 3 seems like an eternity. Mm-hmm. Like you will never get in the game. But one play away, you got to prepare as if I may be starting this next week coming up. So if I'm Vrabel, I'm not naming a backup quarterback. I'm not. Obviously, I don't want to get to my backup quarterback, but I'm not playing my quarterback. Why? Because I think it's an advantage for the team. Because now both of these guys got to come out and prepare as if they are the backup quarterback, not 2 plays away. No, you're 1 snap away from getting in the game. So you need to be prepared each and every week. You need to practice as if you're going to be the starter.
And we can frame it as going into the game against New Orleans, who would go in if Ryan Tannehill got hurt.
Absolutely.
Nick, who's the backup quarterback?
I mean, like Willie said, you kind of got to give it to Malik Willis. He's done all the process. He's been through the ringer. But at the same time, I also think if either Malik Willis or Will Levis has to go into a game this year, I believe neither of them are like the backup quarterback to go into the game. I think it's somebody in free agency.
Really?
I do.
You're going to carry 4 quarterbacks?
That's not going to happen. I don't think. Who's out there?
Well, the only person I have in mind is Nick Foles, but I mean, $3 million according to Over the Cap. I mean, it's not a bad little get, but also you have to remember if one of these 2 backup quarterbacks that are currently on the roster are not going to pan out and or are injured to some degree, put them on the IR or some sort of NFI or whatever list, PUP list, whatever it is, because neither of them need to see the field. Like I get it. Neither of them are going to see the field, in my opinion, but why even have them as a roster spot if they're not going to touch grass?
I think because the idea is that they might touch grass.
I understand what you're saying, Nick.
Yeah.
I really do. But it would be tough, to do, considering, the cap and, whether you consider it real or not. And then the roster, what you would have to do to facilitate that, put a guy here, and then he has to miss a certain amount of games and all this other stuff. So, but I do understand, in a sense, what you're saying. Like, neither one of these guys are ready. And if they go into a week like Ryan Tannehill gets hurt at the end of a game, and they know the next game, hell, we got to go to our backup, then them bringing in another guy, that is a possibility.
Because if you look at it, the only team in the NFL that's gone through so many roster spots throughout the last 2 seasons with injuries is the Titans.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody in the league that knows how to manipulate a roster and money to some degree, it has to be the Titans. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, you are right, because they've had the most injured team in the league the past 2 seasons. I just think that would be such a bad message to those 2 quarterbacks. If you bring in Nick Foles, I know I know he won a Super Bowl, but if you bring in Nick Foles over these two guys, and that's just an example of the one that you brought up, I think it shows too little confidence in two guys that you're trying to build their confidence up.
Well, and there's two scenarios. There's a stopgap, 1 or 2 weeks, and there is end of the season injury to Tannehill. Two very different things. But both, I think, would be scenarios where you have to decide, is it Willis or Levis in that moment? I see Willis as ahead right now. Long range, I still see the ceiling being higher for Levis. And so it would not surprise me if Willis is the stopgap this year and Levis ends up being the starter and Willis the backup in future years. But that's just how I see a big vision down the road. If let's be honest here, if Tannehill goes out for the season, their season's done. It's just time to get into developmental mode, and let's see what we can do to help what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now. You got to have that mindset. The season is sunk. If it's a stopgap, then it's just basically who gets you by, who gives you a chance. Maybe it's a combination of both of them. I doubt that, but I think right now Willis would just be the get me by. Let's run the heck out of it. You use your improvements. Hopefully it's a little better throwing the ball. Take care of the ball, which is a big question mark, and run and just find a way to be effective for a week or two. It's not going to be great. It's a problem.
Right.
But it's a better option maybe than Levis, who hasn't practiced for a couple weeks. He's behind right now. So right now, if we have to answer it, which is what your question is, putting us on the spot, I'd have to go with Willis. It may look different in 5 or 6 weeks with more practices.
And to your point, Willie, I would say that there's 32 teams in the league that can say if their starter goes down, their season is sunk.
They're toast.
Maybe more so than others, but I think your starting quarterback goes down, you are toast, and
Yeah.
you are.
The 49ers are maybe the one team that are so good with the rest of their roster that between Darnold and maybe Trey Lance, I could still see them staying afloat.
Maybe you could squeeze by.
But they're still in trouble, and it's still their Achilles heel right now. It's what's keeping them from being maybe the best team in football. They're really, really good, except for a quarterback.
I think I would say Levis, to be honest with you, and I'll explain why coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, tune in to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game this Saturday for the return of Vanderbilt football. We're almost here, baby. The Commodores will kick off at 6:30 p.m. at home against Hawaii with pregame beginning at 5 p.m. You can hear all the coverage on 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ryan Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, time to tell you once again about Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto has the latest for those that are looking to buy a new home. This is a good tool for you. If you need some cash now, instead of having to wait for your current house to sell before you can move forward on the new home. Sometimes the timetable doesn't work for you. So don't get ripped off by one of those I buy your house people. Loan Pronto has the solution. It's called the Dream Home Bridge Loan. The Dream Home Bridge Loan. You can help tap your equity so you can get the cash you need. With this amazing program, get the cash in just a matter of days, very little paperwork, usually no appraisal is needed. Then you can really go after the house you want with no contingency. Then, when your current house sells, the bridge loan completely disappears. So don't put off the dream. Get to it. Let Loan Pronto help you leverage your equity so you can get the cash to make a solid, clean offer. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Dream Home Bridge Loan. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Real estate investors, get ready for an incredible opportunity. D&M Development is thrilled to announce the Phase 1 presale of 16 non-owner-occupied short-term rentals in Nashville's exclusive resort-style community, the New Cumberland. Nestled between Germantown and East Nashville, this exceptional location offers stunning views of the city and the Cumberland River. Each unit features spacious kitchens, 4 bedrooms, and 4 baths, providing the ultimate luxury experience for your guests. Resort-style pools and a wide range of amenities. Don't miss out on this exclusive investment chance. Visit thenewcumberland.com for more information and secure your spot in this extraordinary community.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You know why insurance companies use all those cute and funny characters? To distract you from realizing you're only getting one option. If you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time. But not with Zander Insurance, because they work for you. Zander is a broker that shops dozens of top companies to find the best competitive rates for the coverage you need, and they keep reviewing your policy every year to make sure you're getting the best value. They're always available to answer questions, handle problems, and make sure that when it comes to insurance, your life is simple and hassle-free. You even have direct access to their senior management team. If your current company or agent doesn't do this much for you, let Zander Insurance help. Compare rates online at Zander.com or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch. When Zander works for you, you're going to see the difference. Again, that's 800-356-1780, or you can visit Zander.com with no characters needed.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
From the film that you watched, what did you see from Malik maybe that you didn't see on the field in your assessment last night?
I mean, I saw him, play fast when he felt like the pocket wasn't there. We still need to stop switching the football, which we've told him, and we'll, continue to rep. I think maybe for quarterbacks that don't scramble as much in practice or aren't going to get hit in practice, I'm just trying to think about how we rep that, a guy taking off and having the ball in his right hand and then running and, trying to keep him from switching it. And Malik knows that. This is not a secret, but played fast. When he took off, was decisive. Continue improving with the timing of things and making sure that he's going through his progression so that his timing is there. I'm sure he'd like to have the one back from Nick Westbrook. Probably just pulled the string on a little bit, but also, had some balls that, again, Chig knows he needs to come down with. And then just the coordination of the interception of, making a great decision. If we need that ball thrown in the alley, then, if the receiver's, for whatever reason, not in the alley, not forcing it in there and knowing it's cover two and just finding a place to get rid of the football so that we're not putting it in harm's way.
That was Mike Vrabel at the podium earlier this week on Malik Willis, and I think we would agree. We've seen improvement from Malik Willis, like Mike Vrabel said there, but there's still room for improvement. He mentions the timing, the touch, all things that Malik Willis still needs to refine. His ability to take care of the football. Haven't seen that quite yet from Malik Willis in the preseason, but I asked the class, who would be your backup quarterback right now? And you all three said Malik Willis. And we still have a preseason game tomorrow. And I assume we're going to see a good bit of Will Levis. So we all are allowed to change our mind about who we think the backup quarterback should be. I mean, the Titans probably haven't even made up their mind about who the backup quarterback should be yet.
Some of it is probably Levis's health, right?
Part of it. Mm-hmm. But I would say, and he was at practice yesterday, so and he was practicing yesterday, so I do expect to see at least a good bit of Will Levis. Don't expect him to see the whole game, but I expect to see at least a half from Will Levis, however they decide to divvy up those snaps. But I say that I think right now, by a slim margin, I would give the nod to Will Levis. And maybe that's me looking at it like it's more of the devil that I don't know versus the devil that I do. But I wanted Malik to take the bull by the horns and extend the gap between him and Will Levis and run away with the backup quarterback position, because he had the opportunity to do that. That he could have just wowed all of us, and we wouldn't even be talking about Will Levis. We wouldn't have even needed to see anything from Will Levis. That's how good I wanted Malik Willis to be on Saturday night against Minnesota. But I didn't see that. I still see Malik Willis making careless mistakes. And that was really my biggest takeaway from the first preseason game, when we did get to see Malik and Will Levis on display back and forth and got more of a fair comparison, where I thought that Malik Willis just made worse mistakes. And I know Will Levis threw a bad interception at the end of the game, kind of in garbage time. And I know that Will Levis had his fair share of throws that he wished he could have back, like that second to last throw to Gavin Holmes. That was on Will Levis. It was. But Malik Willis fumbled the football. He had a bad interception on that pass to Josh Wiley. So I think that just based off of what I know Mike Vrabel wants in his quarterbacks, and that's taking care of the football, Will Levis has been able to do that more. And maybe that's not fair because we didn't get to see Will Levis on Saturday night. I know that. I know. But I give a slight nod to Will Levis at this point. And the second part of that, too, is he comes from a pro-style offense, and I think he's more comfortable in this offense than Malik Willis is at this point.
Well, I heard a lot of concern in Mike Vrabel's answer. I think it's tempering expectations. Again, from where I sit, I'm hoping that Will Levis blows by Malik Willis, because my vision, just from what I've seen of Malik Willis, I think he's getting better, but my expectation is backup quarterback in the league. Will Levis, my hope is that he is a starter in the league. And so when do those two lines crisscross? So my answer right now is Malik Willis, I think, is more prepared to play in an NFL game than Levis. But Levis should, if he is what they hope he is, should overtake Malik Willis forever at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
When he gets to play, when he starts having the light bulb go on, and this is, again, hopeful. There's been plenty that never do get there. But you could hear in Mike Vrabel, there's still a checklist of things that I think he's concerned. What does this look like if I'm putting Malik in the game right now, in a real game where there's schemes, there's complicated coverages? Yes, you're playing with the better offense around you. You'll have DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. You'll have Derrick Henry to hand the ball off to. But still, I think there's still a lot of, how much better is he? I still think that's legit, and I don't know if he'll ever be a starter in the league. But if they are patient with him, I think he could be a solid backup in the league, and that's not bad. That's not the worst thing.
Well, I think we're working from a platform of, yes, Malik Willis is ahead of Will Levis based upon play, but based upon,
based upon play or playing time?
I think based upon play. I just think Willis has played better. It's not a huge gap, but I think Willis has played better. But I think the potential is greater with Will Levis than it is with Malik Willis. It's sort of, I equate it to this. Like you have this, you have this older receiver and you have this young receiver, maybe a first-year receiver, and this receivers in year 10, I don't know. You can go with the veteran receiver. He knows exactly what to do, and he's doing it. But that young guy has the potential of being explosive, and you just need to see some more of it in order for him to take the reins from the veteran guy. I think that's what we're working with here with Malik Willis and Will Levis. Well, Malik is the veteran guy. He has some tools. He's getting better. He knows the offense better, or a little bit better. He knows what we want to do. Let's say that philosophy, what we want to do as an organization better than the younger guy. But the younger guy has more potential. And we're just waiting for this younger guy to pick up what we're asking him to learn, stay healthy. And when he does that, eventually he will be the guy that's going to be the starter or the next guy up. But right now, as we sit, the older guy, I mean, it's only a year older, but the older guy has a better grasp of what we want to do. He may not be better than the younger guy or the guy behind, but he has a better grasp of what we're going to do. And when that guy's ready, then we're going to elevate him. I think that's the situation that we're in. I'm not sure if Willis will ever be a starting quarterback in this league. But again, I've seen enough of these damn backup quarterbacks that are trash to say that, yeah, he can have a spot on somebody's roster as a quarterback,
and
whether
that,
it be a backup or the third quarterback.
That illustrates it all comes down to your expectation level because, as you said, Derek, there's a lot of quarterbacks that cannot win you games as a starter, but you have to have a backup.
Yeah.
So there are 30, what is it? There's 32 backup jobs, and maybe only 10 teams really feel pretty good about their backup. I mean, really good? It's a wide range.
Ask Washington how they feel about their backup. We don't even probably know who Washington backup is.
Probably not great.
Exactly. So.
And that's why guys who don't do well as starters who are drafted in the first round sometimes bounce around and get another chance to be a backup. But the expectation level is completely different. The standard for a backup is completely different than a standard for a starter. So I'm looking at
Jacoby Brissett. So I think I would feel.
Oh yeah, I feel better. So
I'm looking at Willis right now. Prove to me that you could be an adequate backup, and that I'm declaring a victory there. Especially because they drafted Levis, they've already given you a big part of their answer. I don't think they envision Willis as a surefire starter.
Oh no, I don't think you draft Levis if you viewed Malik Willis as a surefire starter. Do any of us view Malik Willis as a surefire starter?
No, I don't. I can't. It would be some things would have to happen.
It'd be unexpected for him to be a starter. He would have to make a
drastic, just like transformation for him to be a starter in this league. And not again, is he a backup? I think he could be a backup in this league, but a starter, it takes a lot more than what he's shown.
And I think the important thing to remember is, too, what they can be versus what they are now.
Exactly, yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We've got a bunch of your texts and your thoughts. We'll write to your texts and your calls coming up next. 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Hey, tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball today at 6:05 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers, AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's a long summer. But don't worry. Hockey will be back soon. You'll hear every slap shot, save, hit, and of course,
knocked down in front, rebound, and the score!
On your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Is it October yet?
Caroline Fenton here for our friends over at Superbook Sports. Football season is right around the corner. Only 2 more days until week 0 kicks off. And now is the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook in Tennessee. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use promo code Caroline to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code Caroline. Will Tennessee win the division this year? Who is your pick for MVP? And which team will win it all in February? Don't sit on the sidelines. Win money this season with Superbook Sports. Simply download the Superbook Tennessee app or visit superbook.com to place your wager today. Football, a $250 first bet bonus, and the Caroline promo code will make you do your own touchdown dance this season with Superbook Sports. So visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Some people put off things that need doing. Not you. Harbor Freight knows you're a today's the day kind of person. An I'm on it kind of person. A bring it kind of person. So if you're rolling up your sleeves today and you don't want to overpay for tools, you're a Harbor Freight kind of person. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Calling all Nashville Sounds baseball fans. You know the 312 Pizza Company in Germantown is the best place to be before or after a Sounds game, but this season, it gets even better. Stop by 312 Pizza Company before or after any Nashville Sounds home game with your day of ticket and get a free old-style beer. That's right, you get a free old-style beer from 312 Pizza just for watching Sounds baseball, only redeemable with purchase. See you at 312 Pizza Company all baseball season long. 312 Pizza Company, a proud sponsor of your Nashville Sounds.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willy Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series at Gwinnett. Gloves, grabs, guns, gets them, and the Sounds win again. Pre-game at 5:50.
Nashville Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I just think it's the way he walks in the building. I mean, I think that you know when he's there, and I'll just leave it at that. I think that's the biggest thing is that you know when he's in the building. That there's a presence to him, kind of bopping around, and that's the biggest thing to me is that you know he's there and not just being there. He's there. He's engaged. You hear him. You see him. Those are all positives.
That was Mike Vrabel on Malik Willis. Caroline Willy D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. Let's get to some of your thoughts, your texts on Malik Willis. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Willy, D-Mase, and Nick all say that they think Malik Willis, if it came down to today, to right now, that Malik Willis would be the backup quarterback. I lean just a little bit toward Will Levis, but of course we're going to learn, hopefully, a lot more about these backup quarterbacks tomorrow night against the New England Patriots. But let's get your thoughts on this. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One texter texts in, says, you don't know what you have in Levis because you haven't seen much of him playing, but you have seen Willis. I think that might be the difference for me.
That's the double-edged sword.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Is I can, fill in the blanks of what we haven't seen in Will Levis in actual game play. Whereas what I saw in Malik Willis, I wasn't incredibly thrilled from what I saw from him last week when he had the opportunity to run away with the job. I think, it's the devil you do know versus the devil that you don't. And I'm leaning toward the devil that I may not know as much about as the devil that I do.
And I would say I would be disappointed if Levis does not pass Willis in time. Mm-hmm. In time.
Yes.
Otherwise, why did you draft him? I mean, you'd been better off just putting all of your eggs in developing Malik Willis into the starter. But I don't think they believe Willis is going to be a starter, so they think Levis has a higher ceiling. And so at some point, he should pass Malik Willis. It should happen. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's happened today.
It doesn't.
So
and
you
I don't
asked,
think it needs
what
to
would you do
happen
today?
Right now.
I might feel differently in a month. They might feel differently in a month after more practices and more time goes by.
Totally. And I don't think he needs to. Will Levis, I don't think he needs to be above Malik Willis right now. But this time next year, he needs to be.
Yeah, well, we'll find out when he gets his opportunity to play. Unfortunately for him, he had the lower body injury. Don't know exactly what it was, but it kept him out of the Minnesota game. But again, it's what is this organization seeing in practice that we don't see? Because the game is the game is one thing, but in practice, are you doing those small things that we are asking you to do? And if you are, then are you taking those things and, making it, applicable on the field? If you're doing that, then okay. And I gotta believe from what I'm seeing from both quarterbacks, but we just haven't seen enough from Will Levis, that the things that they're learning on the practice field, the coaching that they're getting from Charles London and Tim Kelly, they are taking it from the practice field to the playing surface. Because again, I just go back and I'm watching these games, and my thing is just like Vrabel, protect the ball at all costs. That's the first. That's everybody on this team, all 50-something players.
Yeah.
If you got the ball in your hand, you protect it. That's the most valuable thing in this building is the football. So protect it. But aside from that, are you doing the things that we're asking you to do? Are you making the reads? Are you going through your progression the way we want you to? Okay, you are. You know where your open guys are. You know what the defense is playing. Now we got to get you to a point where, like Vrabel said, don't pull a string on a throw that you got right there. It's right in your face. Just throw it. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to do anything else. Just throw the football. Throw it and let the guy catch it. Those are the small things that we see from Malik Willis that we haven't gotten an opportunity to see. We haven't got a big enough sample size in the game from Will Levis. We know what Malik Willis has to get better at. We don't know what Will Levis has to get better at because we just hadn't seen him enough in games. And it's no fault of anyone's. He got hurt. So you just got to deal with it when it comes up.
And we do have the privilege of, your typical Titan fan of, we've gotten to see Will Levis at practice.
Mm-hmm.
That we've gotten to see him not in a gameplay necessarily, which that is a difference. And if you can answer the call on the field in a game, that's different than in practice sample size. But Will Levis has his fair share of things that he needs to work on as well. I mean, I've seen several times Will Levis deliver just a bullet, right to the middle of the chest where I got to calm it down a little bit. I've seen Will Levis deliver just rainbow passes that go up and down, and if that ball was thrown in a game, that's probably getting picked off. So those are some things, and Trevor Maddich talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we did see a sample size from Will Levis. He said something very similar about Malik Willis from this past week was Will Levis didn't take as many of the layups as he would have wanted him to take.
And sometimes, as a young quarterback, you're going to miss those things, but you just don't want to consistently miss them. If that same play comes up again, can you now hit it? Maybe we missed that play on this series, but 2 series later, we're going to call that same play, and if we get that same defense, are you still going to make the same mistake, or are you still going to miss the guy again? We expect that you would not miss him this time, if indeed sort of the receiver. And that's what Vrabel alluded to again. Reading the coverage, reading cover 2. If the receiver isn't in that alley for whatever reason, and I told Willie this, I said, he's really blaming the receiver on that one. But the quarterback must, in his mind, think, okay, he's not there. I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to go another way. I'm going to go to another guy. What he's saying to me is, Malik, you forced that because you were expecting that guy to be in that alley. Now that guy got to get in that alley for you to throw the football, but if it's not there, go somewhere else. I know what you was expecting. I was expecting the same thing, too, as a head coach and as an offensive coordinator. You should have been there, but you were not. Quarterback, don't compound one mistake from your receiver with another mistake from you trying to get the ball in.
Right.
And possibly that's what he did. Because he shouldn't have thrown that ball down the middle of the field. Even though the linebacker had his back turned to him, that was cover 2. He was just riding that guy until he got to the safety, and then he was going to turn around. And he read it perfectly. But if you are expecting someone to do something, they're not doing it, don't compound it with another mistake. And that's what Malik Willis did.
Matt Texan says last year at Kentucky he had 24 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Doesn't seem like a good quarterback to me. This is what bugs me.
Can we not go back to this? Can we just not go down this road again, please? It doesn't matter where you played college now. It's over.
Me to no end.
It's over. You can go back and say Malik Willis threw for 5 touchdowns and no interceptions against whoever Liberty played in Week 4.
Coastal Carolina.
It doesn't matter now.
Care.
Doesn't matter now. It's
move
forward. You're in the NFL.
Josh Allen had 28 touchdowns and 15 interceptions at Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like, it's move on from it. We're not going to be box score warriors. We're not going to keep going back to what he did at Kentucky. I mean, if we want to really break down each and every single interception, we absolutely can do that. I think that's pretty boring and not necessarily what you want to hear. I'm over talking about what he did at Kentucky. Let's look at what he did here. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Corey Davis decides to step away from football. He put out an announcement yesterday, said that he is retiring at age 28. We'll give our thoughts on that, plus what Jared had to say about Corey Davis. I want to see what Willy and D-Mase think about that. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double catch. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback. Wide 85, tight. Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parmer Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parmer Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman. Always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment. New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
As we join you from Eastside Stadium here in Nashville. Tannehill play action again, puts an arrow under it, takes a shot, has Corey Davis wide open. Davis still going, and he's in for the touchdown.
Little throwback there. Corey Davis's tenure with the Tennessee Titans. Some news yesterday. Corey Davis has decided to retire. So the conversation that we were having just 2 days ago about if Corey Davis gets released by the Tennessee Titans, by the New York Jets, should the Tennessee Titans pursue Corey Davis? We had this conversation off air. We had this conversation on air. We talked to Tim Hasselbeck about it, and Tim said, yes, absolutely, go after Corey Davis. Well, those conversations are now done. Corey Davis took to Instagram yesterday, put out a statement, said, for some time now I've been contemplating stepping away from the sport of football. This decision has not been easy. Although I'm a deep person, I am a man of few words. I've been searching my heart for what to do, and I feel that stepping away from the game is the best path for me at this time. I have more blessings than I could have ever imagined. I have an amazing family, a beautiful wife, and 2 healthy children that I look forward to spending more time with. I'm truly grateful for all of the opportunities I have had and will continue to have on my journey. Thank you to my family and friends and the Jets organization for supporting me through this process. Now, Corey Davis is 28 years old. He's only been in the league for a handful of years. So I was not expecting this announcement to come from Corey Davis. We even said, D-Mase, when we were talking about it the other day about should the Titans pursue Corey Davis if he does become available, that no matter, if the Titans should be, we said that he would have a market no matter what happens with him if the Jets decided to part ways with Corey Davis. So I was surprised when I heard that Corey Davis decided to step away from the game. But D-Mase, you kind of had an initial thought of maybe what it could have been to drive Corey Davis to make this decision.
Yeah, I was completely surprised that he chose to walk away from this sport at such an early age. But if you look at, his career, just even before he got into the NFL, he was dealing with a foot injury that kept him out of, running and doing a lot of things, post-draft that a lot of these receivers and individuals were doing. So he stepped in the NFL world, trying to, rehabbing himself to be able to play, a full season. And he only played a full season 1 year. That was his second year, which was, one of his better years with the Titans. Not his best years. Last year was his best year. But it just could have been injuries where, he just got to a point where, he was just having too many injuries. And I was talking with someone last weekend, went on a golf retreat and was talking with a few guys there. And I said, now in today's sport, especially football, I said, you're starting to see guys play shorter rather than longer. Why? Because the money is greater. I can make in 5 years what guys 20, 30 years ago had, they were trying to make in 10. So I can make in 5 what you were trying to make in 10. And I can leave the game with my health intact. Corey Davis was the, 5th overall pick, I believe, somewhere around there. He's made a lot of money. So he doesn't have to sit there and try to each year try to fight to get back or fight to work through an injury just to be on the field. When you become financially secure, then you start to think of other options that you have as an athlete. And like you said, listen, I want to spend time with my family now. I have a beautiful wife, 2 children that I want to spend time with. And I, right now at this moment, football is not the thing for me. And to me, it could have been injury, because he's a good player. Was he 5th overall? Good player? No. But I told y'all when they drafted him, I said he's a number 2. He's not a number 1. They drafted him to be a number 1, but you put a number 1 on the side of him, he's a damn good number 2. And it showed when he and A.J. Brown were together, healthy that last year. 2020, you damn near had 2,000-yard receivers. He missed 2 games. That's the only reason he didn't get 1,000 yards. Had he played 1 game, or had he played 15 games, he would have been a 1,000-yard receiver. He and A.J. Brown. So he was a really good number 2. He just never was a number 1. But they drafted him to be a number 1. So, I mean, to me, I feel it had a lot more to do about the injuries, and he just didn't want to continue to try to fight through injuries and then end up getting injured more and more. I think the longer he would have played, the more injuries he would have occurred.
And you just don't love it anymore.
Exactly.
I don't pretend to know what his motivation was. It could be some of that. Just didn't have the full desire to play that you have to keep playing. The older you get, the more you have to have that. If it just his body is not reacting the way it was, I do wonder I thought he handled it pretty well overall because he was always fighting he's the 5th pick in the draft. He should be better. I mean that was a burden while he was here. And he had carved out a solid role. He wasn't spectacular, but he was solid. But when you're a solid number 2, then you become a free agent. They didn't do the 5th-year option for him, so he became a free agent after a pretty good year. And what happens? There's a pretty good market for him, so he got a really good paycheck. But what happens is you go to New York, bad team, and why are we paying all this money to this guy? So he's had those 2 different burdens that have always kind of followed him around. It's not necessarily his fault, but I do wonder how that weighed on him mentally to go with all the physical problems that went. But all that being said, listen, if he half a season in, who knows where the Titans are going to be wide receiver-wise, injury-wise, season-wise. If it were 10 games in and he kind of got a second wind, stayed in shape and said, you know what, I'd like to play. And I don't know if the Jets retain his rights because some of the lingo, he's got to sign papers or whatever. I've seen people retire just to kind of get out of the old team. There was a lot of speculation that he was going to get cut. But if he's sitting out there free, I would love to see what he would look like back with the Titans. I think he could for a song rather than $10 million a year or whatever. And it's a completely different set of expectations. I think the guy could still play.
I always wonder what guys like Corey, who are good players in this league, because he was the first wide receiver off the board.
He went off before Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Had you not been the first wide receiver off the board, had you not been a top 5 pick, then say if you were 15, 20, maybe the second receiver or the third receiver off the board, how would your career look different? Would we be talking about you different, looking at your numbers based upon your numbers? Would we be talking about you different?
I think absolutely.
Of course we would. Yeah.
I mean, when you're the 5th overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's one thing to be the first receiver off the board and maybe you're taken at 18 or 19 or 20. Maybe it's a quarterback, defensive heavy draft. It pushes the receivers down. I mean, the 5th overall pick, that's got
game changer.
That is a game changer. That needs to be an elite franchise-changing player for your organization at whatever position it might be. Quarterback, linebacker, corner, wide receiver, whatever it might be. Like, you are a franchise-changing player. So Corey Davis stepped into Nashville with those expectations. And, whether it's bad drafting and a bad pick by John Robinson or if it's on Corey Davis himself, he just didn't live up to those expectations.
Yeah, it's just like, for instance, it's like Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson had a good career. Won a Super Bowl. I think he has over 10,000 yards receiving. I think he played, 12 years, somewhere around there. He had a really good career, solid career. But he was the first overall pick.
Right.
So people look at it different. If you tell them, Keyshawn was a late first round or he's a second or third round, and look at his stats, over 10,000 yards, played in the NFL, won a touchdown. People are like, man, those are damn good stats. Like, okay, cool. But he was the first pick of the draft. So people looking at them like,
And see, that's
considering
and they don't
who
consider.
Was drafted after him.
And they
like
also,
the guys that were drafted
right,
after him.
You play that
draft.
game, you don't get to redraft.
Exactly.
People do let's do the draft over from 2014. Oh man, look at this. Shouldn't they have picked so and so? Yeah, that's easy to do, the hindsight. But what I don't get is people should take into account. Yeah, it may not be what you wish for the first overall pick or a fifth overall pick, but there's also plenty of levels lower than that has happened to first picks overall or fifth picks overall. That's not a bust, right? But I think sometimes people think it's a bust, but when you're a solid number 2 regular in the league, that's not a whiff on a draft pick, even though it's not ideal. But that if you look through every fifth pick in the draft, you'll see superstars, you'll see solid players, and you'll see players that never did anything close to what Corey Davis did.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And again, Keyshawn just looked up his numbers. Almost 11,000 yards, 64 touchdowns, 800 and something receptions. But in that draft, you got Marvin Harrison, who was a Hall of Famer. You got Terrell Owens, that's a Hall of Famer. Eric Moulds came out of that draft. There were a plethora of receivers. They said that 96 receiving class was one of the best classes as far as receivers. Now, there's been classes better in recent years, I believe, at least when you're talking about numbers early on. Now, time will tell because we got some Hall of Famers in this 96 class. But when you're the first pick overall, and then you see after that the Marvin Harrisons, the Terrell Owens, guys like that are the Hall of Famers, but you not get there and you're the number 1 pick, people look at them like, it should have been better.
It's what you could have had.
Exactly.
And in this draft, the 2017 draft was absolutely loaded. Jamal Adams taken right behind Corey Davis, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, Tre'Davious White, T.J. Watt, Budda Baker, Dalvin Cook. Those are guys that are still playing in the league and still playing at a fairly high level. So I think that's part of it. Because if let's say you take a guy at number 10 overall, you should be I'll use Corey Davis. Fine, 5th overall. You should be a franchise-changing player. But if it's just a stinky draft, then you'll take the best player available. That's the tough
But
thing.
you could play that game all day. They got Derrick Henry in that draft in the second round. So all of the teams in front of them, they could have had Derrick Henry. Why didn't they take Derrick Henry?
Yes, that's
you can
true.
play that.
That's true, but with the first round pick. But I want to continue the conversation coming up next because Jared had a wild take on Corey Davis. I want to get your thoughts on it.
What a surprise.
We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Your favorite game, Silly Underdog Picks, is back. Make your picks today at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app as week 0 of college football kicks off this weekend. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Superbook Sports.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here. 6326 Patton Avenue is a new construction home in Nashville's Charlotte Park neighborhood. It offers 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and nearly 2,500 square feet. Features include a 2-car garage, custom walk-in shower, and a private backyard that's fully fenced. Text the number 2 to 615-420-2377 for pricing and info. Want your home on the radio? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at TheGameNashville.com/deals while supplies last.
City Winery Nashville presents Paula Poundstone live in concert on Friday, August 25th at 7 p.m. Iconic comedian Paula Poundstone is known for her smart, observational humor and legendary spontaneous wit. Paula is the star of several HBO specials, including Cats, Cops and Stuff, and Paula Poundstone Goes to Harvard. Paula is a regular panelist on NPR's comedy news quiz, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. She's heard weekly on her successful comedy podcast, Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. Don't miss Paula Poundstone and get your tickets at citywinery.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Frazier with your Game Center update. News out of Rocky Top, the Tennessee Vols quarterback Joe Milton has been named a candidate for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. Josh Heupel spoke to the media about Milton's continued growth this past offseason.
When can I hang in the pocket? When's it time to get rid of the football and make sure that, in a certain situation, whether we're backed up or in field goal where you got 3, you're trying to get 7. Understanding the timing and how to play smart football in those situations. He's continued to grow. Love what he's done. The other quarterbacks in the room have continued to grow as we've put them into a lot of situations. That's been a part of helping those guys, but all 125 in the locker room.
Tune in later tonight to 94.9 The Fan as the Nashville Sounds take the diamond for Game 3 of a 6-game series versus the Gwinnett Stripers, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 1025 and 1063.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Corey Davis, former Titans wide receiver, took to Instagram yesterday and announced that he is stepping away from the game of football. He has decided to retire. And it was not what I expected to hear yesterday. It wasn't even thought in my mind that Corey Davis might retire, but good for him. He wants to spend more time with his family. He'll be able to do that. Wish him nothing but the best. But we were talking about this earlier, about how Corey Davis was viewed here specifically, because he was the 5th overall pick, and he didn't perform like you would expect the 5th overall pick to perform. It's a disappointment when you're drafted that high, or high expectations. That's just what it is in the NFL. But Jared had a thought on the decision, John Robinson's decision to draft Corey Davis, and where that might rank amongst all of his decisions as general manager of the Tennessee Titans. This was Jared on his show yesterday.
I will contend that the biggest mistake of John Robinson's career was drafting Corey Davis with the 5th overall pick in the 2017 draft. And I know what your reaction is going to be, that Isaiah Wilson was a worse decision because Isaiah Wilson was a bust. And he never played in a real NFL game outside of 4 meaningless kneel-down snaps. But here's the difference. The value of the 28th pick of a draft, which is what Isaiah Wilson was, compared to the value of the 5th overall pick, is night and day different.
So Jared says that drafting Corey Davis 5th overall in the 2017 draft was John Robinson's biggest mistake. Now, I wasn't here in 2017. I wasn't here in Corey Davis's tenure with the Tennessee Titans. But do you agree?
It's a Jared type, thought-provoking, throw it cold water in your face, kind of get a reaction out of people type of take. I'm not surprised he did that. It's not the worst decision they ever made. But I see his point. He has a point that you just rattled off in the last segment, all of the other guys that in hindsight were more impactful from the first round than Corey Davis. you can play that game all day. You could go to any of the major sports, go through the draft on a given year and say, what if so-and-so had picked this guy with the 5th pick instead of this guy? You could do that all day and you could drive from Nashville to Boston, which D-Mase is
might be doing here soon.
Is going to be doing, which I have done a couple of times. I mean, you can kill time, right? That is, to me, not what it's all about. Like Corey Davis was a good player, not a great player. So this is what happens every year to a lot of teams in the draft. Nobody gets it right every year. So to nitpick on that, I see his point, and you can wonder what if, in hindsight, what if they had taken T.J. Watt? Sure, but it's just hindsight is 20/20. That's what that is to me, and so I don't list that as the biggest. It's a great what if. It's not the worst thing that they ever did.
What do you think would be John Robinson's worst decision?
In drafting?
Yeah. I would have to say Isaiah Wilson.
I would have to say Isaiah as well because of the need on the offensive line at the time. And it has put them behind the 8 ball ever since. They're still trying to make up for not having that one guy, that can be a staple of your offensive line still. He still could be the leader of your offensive line had things worked out, but it didn't. And then, another mistake I think was not signing Jack Conklin back. That was another huge mistake.
See, is to me, that's a really good way of going about a debate. Like, we can talk about Isaiah Wilson. I have yet to have the person tell me, yes, they should have known during COVID that there were all these huge trouble things that would indicate that he would be that much of a wacko, right? He went off the deep end. There was nothing in his backdrop that would, to that extreme, have been warning signs that they should have hit. I didn't hear anything about that until all of a sudden it just started happening.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Pac-Man Jones, there were some warning signs that he had some issues. And, man, from day one, there were issues with him. And Pac-Man grew out of that eventually. After he left the Titans, he played for a long, long time. But it's all in hindsight. Like, if you want to wave the magic wand and say, yeah, we should have known this, that's a way different thing than, should they have known at the time. The Conklin decision at the time baffled me.
Yeah, it did too. I didn't understand.
And I was like, why? This is a good lineman. Why wouldn't you want him for the 5th year? Now, that one, I think, in the moment, I was questioning, right? But if you go questioning a first-round pick in the draft, that's just, you can go down that rabbit hole all day, every year, and play hindsight is 20/20.
But I get what because, again, it's the perception. If you were picked that high, then this is what we expect. He had some good years here. Not 5th overall pick good years, but if he was the 25th pick, those were good years, solid years. But again, when you pick that high, I'm not looking for good years. I'm not looking for solid years.
I'm looking for franchise.
Exactly. I'm looking for franchise-type years. I'm looking for you to be an all-pro. I'm looking for you to be a Pro Bowler. I'm looking for you to sign the second contract and to be our receiver, moving forward, or whatever the position is. I expect you to be a cornerstone of what we're building here. And, based upon the play and the position, it didn't match, But again, I'm not going to say that was the worst mistake. Again, I go back to the worst mistake wasn't in the draft. It was you didn't sign an all-pro lineman back. I know he was coming off injury, but he was playing well still. You decided that, we don't want to pay him the money. We'll let him go somewhere, and you've been paying for it ever since.
You've been in offensive lineman limbo ever since.
Absolutely.
But here's, again, another example. I just picked a year at random. I typed in here 2012. 5th pick in the draft that year, Jaguars, Justin Blackmon. Now, Corey Davis didn't light the world on fire, right? The whole expectation, you got to have a star with the 5th pick in the draft. Justin Bachman never did anything, ever.
He was out of the league as fast as he came.
Never did anything, ever.
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm saying that this happens. Pick a year. Just any year. I will find you a pick in the top 10 that never did anything, ever. Corey Davis had a solid career. It's not the greatest. It's not ideal. But most years, if not every year, somebody doesn't get a star with their top 10 pick. It happens most of the time.
It does.
Just look at the quarterbacks that have busted in the top 10 picks.
Spent a lot of
They
those.
never do anything ever.
And that's why when we talk about worst decision by John Robinson, I can't go with Corey Davis because he did give you 3 solid years.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
he
yeah.
4 solid
4,
years.
yeah.
You made the playoffs twice. You got to the divisional round of the playoffs. You got to the AFC Championship game. Did he give you what a 5th overall pick, what you would expect, and what this team needed at the wide receiver position? No, we didn't. So it's still, we can look at that and say that wasn't a great decision by John Robinson. But Isaiah Wilson gave you nothing. Nothing. And I know a late round pick is completely different than a top 5 pick overall. I get that. The value of those picks is completely different, but it's still a first round pick.
But the
and it was
need-
still a position of need.
Yes.
For the Titans needed offensive line help in that 2020 draft, and they got absolutely nothing. Nothing from Isaiah Wilson except embarrassing stories, a big old headache, and a mixtape that came from Isaiah Wilson after he was cut by the Dolphins.
Have you heard the mixtape?
It's awful.
Oh, I hadn't heard the mixtape.
It's bad. It's really bad. We'll play it at the break. But that's why I think, that's why if you get something from Corey Davis, no, it wasn't what you wanted, but you got 4 solid years from him. You got absolutely nothing from Isaiah Wilson, and that is a big mistake.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it. I get why Jared said that because the production doesn't match the position that he was drafted in. But also, he was a solid player for the years that he was here. And, to me, that was another mistake that you made as an organization. Not trying to sign back a guy that it seemed like he was getting it now. It seemed like you had your Batman and Robin, or whatever you want to call the two, peanut butter and jelly, I don't care. But you had your 1 and your 2, and you had a really good pass game with both of them. Why? Because the quarterback trusted both of them. Why? Because both of them had different type of games. Corey was more of the smooth guy, the number 2. He can get downfield. He can catch those intermediate passes. Then you had A.J. Brown that was just the beast. He can do it all. They work well with each other, and the Titans have been trying to find that since they let Corey Davis go. They've been trying to find it since they let Jack Conklin go, and they couldn't get Isaiah. I was about to call him Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Washington.
Isaiah, even though he's a little older, Isaiah Thomas might have done better.
Exactly.
He might have gotten better at offensive tackle. Isaiah's, he's a pretty good athlete.
Maybe he would have played a game.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas would have played a game.
I just typed another draft in, completely random, 2005, which happens to be the Pac-Man Jones draft. All right. 3rd pick in the draft, Braylon Edwards, Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, he
never did anything ever.
And the Browns
Didn't he have 1 year?
Dumb organization.
Yeah, 1 year where he was a Pro Bowler. I think
He did. I don't. Okay.
He may have.
I'll take
1
your
year.
word for it. 7th pick overall, Minnesota Vikings. Troy Williamson, South Carolina,
Oh,
wide
he
receiver.
did- yeah, he
never
didn't materialize
did anything. My point is, pick a draft, any draft. There will be at least 1 or more names in the top 10 where if you could have a do-over, you would take it. And
Of
Corey
course.
Davis is better overall than both of those guys. So it's not, again, going back to Jared's hyperbole, which it was, of the worst decision ever. Now, potentially, could that have been a game changer if they had hit on that pick? Yes, but the point is people miss on picks. There's a varying range of every draft pick ever. And to play hindsight is 2020, it's a fool's errand.
I mean, teams miss on draft picks all the time.
Every year.
And hit on draft picks on the 6th and 7th round. It's not a perfect science. But it doesn't hurt your team any less when you don't hit on those top 5, top 10 picks. Because the idea is You're not picking in the top 10 every single year, but when you get that opportunity to be able to pick that high, then you want to hit. But no, it's definitely not a perfect science, and I think we have learned that over the past couple of years with Tennessee Titans drafting. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. So the Colts have granted permission to Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade, but that comes with a condition. You have until Tuesday. There are teams that are interested. Are those teams going to be willing to give up what the Colts want for Jonathan Taylor? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right. It is going to be Take It to the Bank time tomorrow right around this time, 1:45 every Friday with F&M Bank. Now, F&M Bank has been helping a lot of people over a lot of time. And now they really want to get the word out with their 20 convenient locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Banking made easy on purpose. That is what they do. The F&M Bank checking accounts. Before you can get your hands on the exclusive F&M Bank Arena debit card, you must have a F&M checking account. But don't worry, opening a checking account with F&M Bank is easy online. That's the whole name of the game at one of the 20 locations. It's a great opportunity to enjoy the perks of F&M Bank Arena, Fordyce Center, also building a strong financial foundation with F&M Bank. So all of these great things that they do are designed to do one thing: simplify the process. It's F&M Bank. Find the nearest location to you by going to myfmbank.com. Member FDIC. We'll take it to the bank with F&M Bank tomorrow at 1:45.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/JGM to kick off the NFL season and kick it off the right way. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL and my official sportsbook app. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way.
Continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With all the difficulties that have transpired this summer with Jonathan Taylor, him wanting to get a new contract, him wanting to get paid, him wanting to be traded, now they have acquiesced to his demand and say, yes, if you can find a trade partner that's going to satisfy us and satisfy the player himself, we will make that trade. And so there are teams out there right now figuring what it would take to acquire one of the best young players in the league.
Jonathan Taylor requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts. Less than a month later, the Colts granted him permission to seek said trade, and now there are 6 teams that have inquired about a trade for Jonathan Taylor. Now, that doesn't mean that those teams are going to push it all in the middle for Jonathan Taylor. That doesn't mean that those teams are salivating at the mouth at just thinking about Jonathan Taylor. That means that just 6 GMs for 6 franchises across the NFL have picked up the phone and said, hey, what do you want for him?
How many times do we talk about it? An inquiry could be, hey, what are you looking for? And that's so far from a full proposal. Mm-hmm. I'll make you a proposal. So I would ask you guys this. Now, this is a unique set of circumstances. It seems like this has just gotten personal. It's pretty crazy. Now, there are health concerns, but all things considered, knowing what we know, what would you offer the Colts for Jonathan Taylor at this point?
Not with
like
the
if
Colts
you're really
want.
making an offer.
I'd give him
with
I'd give him a 4th that could go up to a 3rd with conditions depending on playing time.
I think to me that's in the ballpark.
Yeah, because he's not fully healthy from. Is he fully healthy?
He's on
now?
PUP.
He's still on the PUP list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still on the PUP list.
he's young.
He's young. I guess that conditional pick would be the best way to go, whether it be a 4th that could potentially be a 3rd or a 3rd that could potentially be a 2nd, because of his play, what he has done. He is a legitimate 2nd-round pick. He is. Mm-hmm. He may be a late 1st-round pick based upon what he has done. Now, he was originally a 1st-round pick, I believe. Of the Colts, was he their 1st-round or their 2nd-round pick out of Wisconsin? But
I think he was a 2nd-rounder.
So, yeah. So, he's giving you the numbers of a 1st or 2nd round. So
is he though?
Number wise, I'm saying his
2nd
play.
round, 41st overall, 2020.
Less than 1,000 yards.
The
last
Titans
year.
could have had
That's because he was hurt. But the year before that, he was the best running back in national football.
2021 he had a solid outing. Had just shy of 2,000 yards.
1,811 yards.
So he was just now starting to pick up steam. Like, here we go. And then he gets hurt last year. That team was debacle last year. So I think he's worth a 2nd round pick. But to me, I will make it a conditional. I give you a 3rd that can go up to a 2nd round pick, because this is where running backs, of his nature are going. If you're not a Bijan Robinson or Christian McCaffrey, the likelihood of you going, in that first 15 or 20 picks is slim. If you can't do both, catch the football out the backfield and run the football and being a dynamic player, then you could be a damn good running back. I look at the kid from Michigan, Corum, I believe that's his last name.
Yeah, Blake Corum.
Yeah. He's a hell of a running back. But more than likely, he's going to be a a 2nd round pick.
It's just the reality.
Just the reality of it. So, to me, Jonathan Taylor is worth a conditional 2nd round. I give you 3. If he gets these numbers or play this many snaps, then you can get a 2.
The complicated thing is we just worked out what we kind of think would be worth, but then you're thinking if you're the other team, you're not the Colts, you're making an inquiry. What happens if I don't offer you anything? What happens if I offer you a 7th round pick and you say no? What are you going to do? How much cheaper does it become as the time goes by and the bridge is burned, presumably, that Jonathan Taylor doesn't want to play for the Colts? He'll sit on the sideline. I don't know how nasty it's going to get, but it looks like it's pretty bad, right? So you're trying to get pennies on the dollar if you're the team trying to make a pick. So you might think, okay, he's worth a second-round pick. But I'm going to offer a fifth of the sixth because they got to get rid of this guy. They want to move on. So can you get him cheap? That's what you're trying to do, is that. The other part is the team acquiring him, you're going to be right back in the same boat as the Colts. You get a very good running back for 1 year, and then you have to sign him to the next contract, which is very complicated these days. Now, the thing about Taylor that's different about a lot of these other guys like Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler, he is only 24 right now.
Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
So he's still got, historically, some prime years before you tend to see running backs start to decline.
That's why I say he's worth the second-round pick.
That's why that's what the thing. But he wants that big contract. He's not a first-round pick, so they couldn't do the fifth-year option. So you got to have a new contract for him. So if you're acquiring him, you got to be thinking, I don't want him just for this year. So what are you paying him?
Unless there is a team, like, say, the Eagles have inquired. Again, inquired could mean a lot of different things. The Eagles have inquired about Jonathan Taylor. They could look at it like, look, we will trade you a third-round pick because we're going for it this year. Because we see a window. We want to get back to the Super Bowl, and we're in a window where we can win right now. So we're willing to dish out the pick if Jonathan Taylor can help our run game and get us back to the Super Bowl. But if he can't, then we're not going to pay him. We'll let him go to free agency. We're not going to give him a second contract. We're not going to dish out the cash. But the Colts want a first-round pick. And, of course, they're going to say that to see if anybody's willing to give them a first-round pick. It was a first-round pick or a package of picks with the value up to a first-round pick.
Nobody's giving them that, and they know it. They know it. They don't want to necessarily get rid of Jonathan Taylor. They don't, because they know they are a better team with him in the backfield, especially if, you've already named Richardson your quarterback.
Right.
You need someone to take the pressure off of him. You need to be able to – the quarterback's best friend other than his offensive lineman is a damn good running back and a really good tight end. Those are short throws, and you can turn around and hand it to the running back. Easy. And Indianapolis knows that. And if you're going to start a rookie quarterback, you got to have a running back. So to them, for how I'm looking at it is they're asking for too much possibly on purpose because they know they're not going to get it. Nobody's going to give you a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor. Even if Jonathan Taylor was coming out of college, he wouldn't be a first-round pick. So why are you asking for a first-round pick for a guy that just got injured? That tells me you really don't want to give him away.
See, that also mystifies me a little bit because I don't think the Colts have this huge track record of not paying. Like, this is the second contract. This isn't the big contract that you got to decide that a lot of teams just pass on, like the Vikings just passed on Dalvin Cook, saying, okay, he's 28, may have had his best years, so we don't want to go big money for that next stage of his career. Taylor is still in the prime. Why don't they want to sign him to that next contract? Why not? But is there something with the health?
The money.
Is it the health?
Maybe.
But
or the nature of the position.
I mean, he missed, 2 games? One game his rookie year, 20. Or did they change? Was that the year they changed it to 17 games?
I don't think so. 18. I think 2020 was still 16 games, I think.
So he missed 1 game in 20, and then he played all of 2021.
Had a great year.
He had a great year, and then obviously we know what happened last year, and he still was on pace for over 1,400 yards last season before he got hurt.
But got hurt.
But he doesn't have a history like this nagging history of somebody he's missing 3, 4, 5 games. To me.
But how do they project the current issues that he has? Didn't they say something about his back or something?
Mm-hmm.
But he said there was nothing wrong with his back.
He said that wasn't
the
case.
He says that, but I'm just wondering what would have you come to the decision that in the situation there with a young quarterback, why you wouldn't want the prime years of Jonathan Taylor, even though, okay, to pay him, you pay pretty well, but it's not like nobody else pays. For those years, it'd be one thing if he was 28. He's 24. Why don't they want to pay him?
Because
he probably wants too much.
They're suppressing the running back's value. All these teams are. Luckily, Derrick Henry got his money when he got it. But the Titans view Derrick Henry a little bit different than what other teams view their running backs. But I think you can't tell me that something isn't going on with this running back position. I can't believe. I am not going to believe what it's just the position. No, this is being done on purpose.
Well, I think it's just the value in the league, because right now in this league, if you're not the quarterback, if you don't catch passes from the quarterback, if you don't protect the quarterback, and if you don't hit the quarterback, your value is inherently lower than those positions that do. The quarterback
if you
is the most
can't
important
run the
position.
football, ask Buffalo Bills. If you can't run the football, then you ain't making it too far.
I think the way that they view it is we don't need to pay Jonathan Taylor $20 million that somebody else will do for $2 million.
Who said he wanted $20 million?
I'm just using that number.
But what I'm saying is that if this man comes in here and say, after my 2 or 3 seasons, I know I got hurt last year, let's put that aside, but I'm not an injury-prone person. First year, I had 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. Second year, my sophomore year, I had 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. What is telling you that I'm getting ready to slip? Now, I was on pace for another great season. I end up getting hurt. I get it. But that shouldn't – my value to you is still high, because when I come back that this train's going to keep on rolling, and I'm going to keep on doing what I've been doing. So to me, I am not going to believe that something isn't going on with this running back position.
Well, it's very obvious what's going on.
And
teams
it's
don't
wrong.
value them.
It's not even value. They value them. Not as much as the quarterback, or not as much as the defensive end, or not as much as now the wide receivers, but this is still a prime position. You need a guy like Jonathan Taylor. Imagine the Titans without Derrick Henry.
The Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Their running back was Samaje Perine.
Exactly. How many yards?
Excuse me, not Samaje Perine. Isaiah Pacheco.
It was the young guy.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Their starting running back was hurt a majority of the season.
But who's the quarterback?
Patrick Mahomes.
You better have a damn Patrick Mahomes then.
And
every team don't have a Patrick Mahomes.
And the Colts might think that they have one. I hope that they think that they have one.
I hope they think. But they can't think that, because he's young and hadn't played enough football. I can see if they decided to make this decision, 3 years down the line, and say, well, Taylor, we don't need you. Our quarterback, he's that dude.
I know. I'm just saying how GMs are looking at it, of where the most dollars are going to get tied up, and it's the quarterback and those players that directly affect the quarterback. And they don't see that running backs, elite running backs that want the big money, are as valuable, or they'd rather put their dollars toward a quarterback, toward a wide receiver, toward an elite left tackle, or they can find a running back that will do the same job as an expensive running back for much cheaper. Whether it's right or not, that's the way that this market's going.
So I'm just saying it's not right. But,
yeah.
That's what it is.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. But what does this mean for the Titans?
Good things. Good things for the Titans.
We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Vanderbilt football lives here.
This Saturday, it's Vandy and Hawaii at First Bank Stadium. Kickoff at 6:30. Pre-game coverage begins at 5 p.m.
Your home for the Commodores is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline Fenton here for our friends over at Superbook Sports. Football season is right around the corner, and now is the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook in Tennessee. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use promo code Caroline to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code Caroline. Will Tennessee win the division this year? Who is your pick for MVP, and which team will win it all in February? Don't sit on the sidelines. Win money this season with Superbook Sports. Simply download the Superbook Tennessee app or visit superbook.com to place your wager today. Football, a $250 first bet bonus, and the Caroline promo code will make you do your own touchdown dance this season with Superbook Sports. So visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3 carat, 4 carat, 5 carat, up to 10 carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If 2020 is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willy Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Hey, we are your racing station, 102.5 and 106.3. The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in this Saturday for the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona, beginning at 7 p.m. NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game is presented by O'Charlie's. So we're breaking down the Jonathan Taylor situation, and it's a mess. It's been a mess for a while. It's been a mess since Jim Irsay brought out his Twitter fingers and was tweeting about the value of the running back position. And I was thinking, your franchise running back might have something to say about that. Here we are. The Colts have granted permission for Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade. There have been 6 teams across the league. The Dolphins, the Eagles, the Bears have all inquired about Jonathan Taylor. But I think that this is all good things for the Titans, because I didn't really view the Colts as an AFC South contender with Jonathan Taylor. And I think they're worse off without Jonathan Taylor. So I don't really know how much this move, either Jonathan Taylor stays in Indianapolis or leaves Indianapolis, I don't know how much that really moves the needle for me in terms of the division. Unless he goes to Houston, and I don't see that happening.
No, I can't see that happening either. This team is sort of in a mode of, from an offensive standpoint anyway, they're trying to find playmakers. They draft a quarterback high in Richardson. They've already named him the starter. So, from an offensive standpoint, they're trying to put these pieces together. Defensively, I think, they have a few players on that side of the ball that can play. But offensively, that's their problem. They got to find a quarterback for one. They think they have with Richardson, but he's young, so you don't know what you're going to get out of him. That offensive line was disappointing, considering how much they were paying, those individuals. So hopefully, I'm sure they're looking for a bounce-back season with that offensive line. And then the pass catchers. They didn't have many pass catchers last year, and this year they're hoping that, people stay healthy and that they can get something out of the passing game. So it baffles me with an offense that has struggled with really no playmakers, in a sense, that you're allowing really the only playmaker you have on offense to potentially get out of the building via, a trade. That I don't understand. But like you said, with Jonathan Taylor, without Jonathan Taylor, I don't think they were in a position to contend for the AFC South anyway.
It does look like, and you're kind of sitting there. You always say, what does it mean for the Titans? You want the train wreck to happen. You're excited that the possibility exists. For example, they made the decision to draft Richardson and pretty early in the game say he's going to be the starter. You know why? Because he needs to play. He hasn't played much, so let's get him in there. And then they turn right around and they don't play him or any of the starters in the second preseason game. Now that seems very strange to me. Like, hey, we need to get him out there. Let's play him. And then you don't play him.
Right.
I thought he needed to play. I thought you were saying he needed to play. That's why he's your starter. But then you don't play him in a game that doesn't mean anything. That wasn't logical. Mm-hmm. I can see Shane Steichen saying about Taylor, hey, in my offense, if you look at what we did with the Eagles, it's one of those offenses that does not rely heavily on any one running back, right? Mm-hmm. They used a committee of running backs. They're almost interchangeable, Sanders being the best. Mm-hmm. But, the year before, Sanders was one of several guys that they used. I think they see that position as one that you don't pay for. And I think that's where Jonathan Taylor started seeing that and saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to get that next big contract from the Colts. And if I don't, I'm going to start making some noise. And now you've got a big mess right now. Mm-hmm. And so I hope it remains a mess. Mm-hmm. It might. You could argue that maybe it's great if he stays there as a really unhappy guy that isn't playing a role that he wants to. Because, like you said, Derek, they need support for the rookie quarterback. It would be great to be able to say Taylor can shoulder the load while he figures it out. But it looks like a big heap of problems. And so Shane Steichen's dealing with this as a first-time head coach. Mm-hmm. And why did he get the job? Not necessarily because he's a great leader, but he orchestrated and constructed a great offense that got to a Super Bowl, and he, on the coattails of that, has this job. But this is a totally different job description than just putting together an offense. Like, he's got to be dealing with a lot of things each day that don't have anything to do with the, what do they call it, the six-pack offense? Like they reinvented football or something. I mean, it was great. It worked really well for Philadelphia. Can you just pick up and put the same thing in for the Colts? We're going to find out. And one of those things he has to deal with is an absolute cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs of an owner.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, and that, we talk about you're rooting for the total wreck of the Indianapolis Colts. That's how I feel whenever I see Jim Irsay tweet anything or say anything. Is man, I feel for those players and I feel for those people in Indianapolis that has to deal with him. But from the Titans' perspective, it's a good thing.
Oh, of course.
You root for the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
One texter texts in and says the Jonathan Taylor drama now would have been what A.J. Brown was about to be if they didn't trade him. I don't know if it would have gotten to that because I don't think the relationship, at least from my perspective, in my opinion, I don't think the relationship between A.J. Brown and the Titans ownership and Titans front office was as bruised as what it seems to be in Indianapolis.
No, it doesn't, because no one publicly came out and said anything disparaging about the position or the player. Everything that we heard here was they wanted AJ. They wanted to, pay him, but they wanted to pay him fair market value. But he was a cornerstone of what they wanted to do, and they let everybody know that. But at the end of the day, they ended up traded him because maybe he wanted a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there was ever this. And I could be wrong, but I don't think there was ever this, contentious relationship between, the Titans and A.J. Brown. It seems like that's what it is with Indianapolis and Jonathan Taylor, at least the owner. Let's just say that.
When you say when he dies, the league will go on. I mean, that's
that's
not a good look.
It's true, but you don't say that to a guy that, hell, he's been the reason, at least 2 years why your franchise has been somewhat successful.
Just a
from
weird
what
thing to say.
from what he's been able to do from the
Right,
backfield.
and he devalues his own guy.
Exactly, yeah.
He's devaluing his own player. Forget about what he thinks about running backs, but he just basically said this guy's not that special. Like I still think a running back can be one of your best and most special players. That's the case with Derrick Henry. He's not just a great runner of the ball. He's way more than that. You know, his value to the franchise, his value to the locker room. That's why they pay him. I think Jonathan Taylor was saying to himself, "Look, I'm not just a running back. I'm the best player on this offense. Like who like you just
and
said,
he's
who
telling
else
the
do
truth.
they have?
Well, Michael
They have
Pittman
nobody
Jr.
else.
is a good player, but he's not Jonathan Taylor.
He's not a star.
Exactly. He's not Jonathan Taylor.
Nashville's best deal of the week is for Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. So enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. 1025-1063, The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Men, stop what you're doing and listen to me. Now that I got your attention, I need to tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experience and wonderful staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. So there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Men, what are you waiting for? Get Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. Here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Now through Labor Day, get fantastic deals at Electronic Express. Get a 65-inch TCL 4K Roku TV, only $349, or an HP Chromebook for just $249. Electronic Express has huge savings on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti laundry pair, just $379 each, or a Ring video doorbell for only $69. Plus, get up to 5 years special financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
The path to the PGA Tour runs through Middle Tennessee. The Simmons Bank Open returns September 14th through 17th as part of the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Catch all the exciting golf action and still not miss a minute of your favorite team's game in the Arctic Tailgate Village. Swing by the sand trap and take your shot at the famous floating Guitar Island Green while grabbing a bite from Hattie B's, Hogwood Barbecue, Dream Burger, and wash it down with a cold fashion from Nelson's Greenbrier. Purchase your tickets now at SimmonsBankOpen.com.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's like weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. We'll get back into your phones driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. But I don't know about you guys, I've felt like this season in baseball has just felt different. And I've always been a baseball fan. My whole life, I've been a diehard baseball fan. And I feel like over the past few, let's say 3, 5, 7, 8 years, it's almost like I've had to defend baseball. I promise it's really fun. I promise it's a good game. I promise they're fun games to watch. But this year, I haven't felt like I've had to do that. And I think that's one in part because of the superstars. And Major League, and the rule changes and the game is interesting. There's more parity in the game. It feels like it's not just the Yankee show. But I feel like the superstars have a big part of it. I think that's why the NBA has been successful, is you have your LeBrons, you have your KDs, you have your drama. And Shohei Ohtani has brought so many new eyes, and I feel like has refreshed an interest into baseball that we haven't had in quite some time. But I think it is such a blow to Major League Baseball now that Shohei could potentially be out for the next year. Tore his UCL, maybe the second Tommy John surgery coming down the line for Shohei Ohtani. I mean, that stinks for baseball. That is your number one global star.
I was really bummed. And I think what he's doing was so unique, you did kind of wonder, how long can he keep doing this? Because it's never been done. And sure enough, for the second time, it appears he's tore his UCL, and he'll have to go through a second Tommy John. Now, the crazy thing is, in this day and age, you can have 2 Tommy Johns and come back and pitch again.
And be fine.
But it's going to be a while before. And he becomes a free agent. So for him personally, this is going to cost him a lot. Where we were wondering, just how high would you bid for a guy like Shohei Ohtani? But so that's in and of itself an issue. And then the Angels, who went all in, they were on the borderline, could have traded him, could have just stood pat, but they tried to add, and it has come back. They've 5-15 or something since the trade deadline. They've collapsed. So now they're going to lose Ohtani. He's injured, and they've traded future assets to get a bunch of guys that haven't panned out. So they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble. I was really looking forward to Ohtani, and the day might still happen where he gets into a marquee city, and baseball can try to take what they've done that's been so positive. The pitch clock has been a huge hit. The game is a much better product to watch. You've got these young players that are stars. Ohtani towards the top of the list. But the next step for baseball is to get back into a little bit more of a daily conversation where the sports world, the ESPNs, are not looking for football topics and stuff in June and July, but driving ratings with baseball interest. That's what baseball's goal should be. And having a guy like Ohtani, you would think, would help you with that. Like globally, like Ohtani has the most endorsements of any baseball player by far, but they're all in the Far East, right? That's where he's collecting the money. But he is, with each passing amazing feat that he's doing, he's becoming more of a must-watch among baseball fans. And then the next thing is, can you get the maybe used to be baseball fans or not really baseball fans like, man, I got to watch this guy play. That's what they desperately need that.
Well, yeah, they do. But I think more than anything, what this means, not for the sport of baseball, but what does this mean for him from a contract standpoint? Read an article Buster Olney wrote about this whole situation. You got a guy that potentially was looking at $500 to $600 million in contract, which would have been the richest contract by far of any of the 4 major sports. I'm not talking soccer. Soccer's sort of outside of that, okay? We know.
You look at the Mbappe contract that was on the board.
We know. That's different money. But we're talking about the 4 major sports.
With some hefty contracts amongst those 4 major
Exactly.
sports.
So you're talking about a guy that was possibly getting upwards to $500 to $600 million. Now, what is his value? Do you lessen his value as a pitcher because of the Tommy John, and now it goes from potentially $600 to $300? Still a hell of a lot of money, but you've cut your pool down in half because of this injury, which is now your second Tommy John surgery. So I think anything, it may even put people back in the bidding war to get him now that they don't have to pay so much to get him. Because if I got to pay him $500 $600 million. There's only so many teams that's going to be willing to pay that.
Yeah, and the other thing that the new team has to decide is, okay, he's 28 or 29. He won't be able to pitch physically for another maybe 2 years. So when that day comes and he can do both, what's the best way to utilize him? Is it a starting pitcher, or should you maybe just say, look, the limits of the human body we've now realized, and he is a little bit older, so let's make him a short reliever or a guy that we use twice a week for 2 or 3 innings, and just say he can still be great, but to do what he's done the last 2 years, be one of the top 10 hitters and one of the top 10 pitchers simultaneously. I don't know if could he ever do that again. I don't know, because can the body hold up?
The baseball fan in me hopes that he can, because that is the talent that I have never seen and will never see again in my lifetime. And I was hoping we could hold on to that just a little bit longer. But that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the day of the final Titans preseason game before the regular season starts. Stillman Company is up next.
Be love and love on your people. Peace.